Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Garrett Smith back again with Love Your Liver live stream number 215. And I'm finally doing the ZeoLyte episode that many people have been asking for. I know John in the live chat has been asking, when am I going to do this? When am I going to do this? And here we are. So it's a lot of stuff. I actually going to tell you guys right off the bat that we may be doing kind of like with the niacin one, that the dorky niacin episode with Kelsey that a lot of you guys are asking for. We may do another kind of more dorky ZeoLyte episode, nerdy, dorky, whatever you want to call it. It's all good. We love being nerdy around here. So we just not everybody's up for it. So we just wanted to save it. And Joe posted in the chat and just showed on the screen there, and we'll put it as the pinned comment, the link to the Google Doc where all the references from this show can be found. So if we were to forget that, I guess we forgot that on one episode. If we forget to do that, let us know and we'll get it taken care of. But it's in the live chat right now. If you want to go look at the references with us, there's a lot. I am not going to be going through as many of these pages in detail as I might normally, because when you see so a lot of us are concerned about microplastics, right? When you see the number of papers on zeolite binding to microplastics, like, I'm not going to read every one. I'm not going to go through each one, but we're going to be hitting on a lot of the basics today. For those of you who don't know, Joe, you can put up what we are talking about today. What I have brought to the market as the Nutrition Detective product is the ZeoLyte with a Y. That's how I say it. I say ZeoLyte with a Y. And it's a really great zeolite. It's cleaned and what we call charged with electrolytes. We'll go into more detail on that first, but some of you are already taking it, doing great. The biggest thing we got to talk about is how to use it, how to dose it, the dosing paradox and all that stuff, but we'll get into that. I want to get into the basics of ZeoLyte for those of you who are not familiar with it. And we're just going to head through that big old Google Doc that we have, and we'll just first wanted to go through. We got a testimonial. About MSG from a mother of a child. Well, I don't think he's a child anymore. I think he's a bit older than that, but we got a testimonial. So I wanted, Joe, if you can show this. So here we go. So this was from somebody in Kelsey Kenny's office hours. Okay. She was saying that her son was doing better on glutamate. Kelsey asked for more details. Here she says, yes, I'm totally serious. He's 20. He could barely get out of bed for most of the last 6 years. So he was already not well, right? He had some better moments, but they were unpredictable. Going off vitamin A 2 years ago was initially helpful, but after about the first year, he went into steep decline. So does this mean that the vitamin A diet was the problem? No, it means that there was something else going on underneath it. Okay, this is an important concept, folks. Not everyone's main problem is vitamin A toxicity. Okay, I know I'm thought to be the vitamin A toxicity guy, and do I think people eating less of it is generally always better? But is that everyone's main problem? No. As I've talked about with hormone things, if let's say a guy goes on TRT or a woman goes on HRT and they feel better at the start, right? But the problems that caused the hormone deficiencies were still festering the whole time underneath it, then those slowly get worse. So can they feel improvements when they get on hormones? Yes. Do those improvements tend to fade away as the underlying problem slowly festers? Yes. Have we had people who just let's say they don't do well with the amount of iron in red meat? Yeah. So if they keep eating red meat and they start accumulating iron overload and they don't pay attention to how they feel, can they create a new problem over time? Sure, yes, this has happened. This is rare. I'm telling you, this is rare. Most people do just fine on red meat, but some people don't tolerate that amount. And so we can see improvements in the beginning that turn into problems later. So this is what he was 6 years of not doing well, barely getting out of bed. Vitamin A detox helped, but then he started going down. Okay. So something else was going on. He had to massively budget his energy. And then after any amount of exertion, he had to recover for about 2 weeks, and he would have a flu for most of that time. We know what the flu is, right? It's a bile dump. He quit taking supplements because they didn't help. That's fine. He was in the middle of trying to move solo to another country, but one of us, including him, no, but I think she means, but none of us, including him, could imagine how he was going to accomplish this feat while flat on his back. Then the live stream number 212, the MSG episode, got to me finally, and I was delighted to hear this news. I was sure we were on to something good. Now, at this moment, so this is the change, he's on the first flight of his 3-part journey to America. He has been fine the whole time, even during stressful events that would have previously flattened him. He takes some undefined amount of MSG each day, probably around a teaspoon, but prefers that I just dump it into the food I make. For his trip, I baked my best imitation of chicken-flavored crackers. They're delicious. This MSG revelation is life-changing. I'll report on several others of us shortly. Now, I want to point to a couple of things about this testimonial. First, there are some people out there who are saying, if you're not in perfect health, MSG is going to be very bad for you. Was this gentleman in perfect health? He was on his back most of the time. So, no. And am I going to say, does MSG work for every single person? No. We never claim that everything works for every single person. I just talked about the vitamin A thing not being everyone's main problem. However, is glutamate involved pretty much everywhere in people's bodies? Yes. Why are we seeing people have these drastic improvements from adding a bit of MSG to their routine? What is not working well in their system? I don't know. Can I explain what this did for this young man? No, I can't. I mean, he got glutamate. His system worked better. That's it. So for those of you who are afraid to try MSG, one other thing I wanted to add. I talked about, I said modern pantry last week for a non-GMO option on MSG. It's modernist pantry, modernist, modernistpantry.com. They sell a non-GMO MSG. So that was just a cool testimonial MSG I wanted to go over first because we got that in, and I wanted to relate it to people who still are in disbelief that we could be talking about this and it could be helping people. It is. And thanks again to Kelsey, who I hope is in the chat, for bringing this to our attention. So thanks again, Kelsey. It was great seeing you this last week. So let's get into ZeoLyte now. Okay. Let me get back up to the top here. Okay, so just so you guys remember, if you're going to get ZeoLyte, the link that we put up is for the normal shop. If you're a Love Your Liver member, you already know this, hopefully. You get a discount on everything we sell. So make sure to go into the VIP store to get that discount. Now, I wanted to go into what is ZeoLyte. Okay. Here we go. ZeoLyte is not just one thing. Let me read this. Zeolites, as a family, represent a family of hundreds of microporous mineral members known for their ion exchange properties. That's very important. The term zeolite, coined in 1756 by the Baron Axel Fredrik Cronstedt, a Swedish mineralogist and chemist, derives from the Greek language zeo, to boil, and lithos, stone, meaning boiling stone. There was another article we'll go over where they called it the magic stone. The structure of the zeolites mainly consists of aluminosilicates. We're going to go over that with SiO4 and AlO4 structures connected by shared oxygen atoms. Clinoptilolite, so if you guys want to know how to say this, clinoptilolite, that's how you say it. I'm going to be saying this a lot. It's not easy to say, but that's how you say it. Is one of the most abundant natural zeolites widely distributed through the world and used for its ion exchange and adsorbent properties. We've talked about adsorbent a lot in terms of charcoal and soluble fiber. These things adsorb things. It's different than absorbing, okay? Now, thanks to its remarkable and unique ion exchange properties in water, it has been employed for various medical, industrial, and environmental uses, in particular for sequestration or grabbing onto and holding of toxic pollutants from industrial effluent. That's the waste of industries and waste. At present, many positive effects are recognized due to the capacity of naturally occurring zeolite clinoptilolite, ZC, to adsorb and therefore remove harmful substances like heavy metals, ammonia, or other small molecules in the gastrointestinal tract of humans. It is important to mention that this positive impact can improve through modifications of zeolite, clinoptilolite due to micronization of ZC. So let's just talk about, okay, we're going to be talking about lots of studies, and not all these studies are on the exact same zeolite. I want you to think about this. Like, they're with zeolite, a lot of the industry stuff, they want it to adsorb something very specific. So they modify the zeolite, they add things to it, they do things to it to make it adsorb more, something specifically better, or more than it would have otherwise. So they're all taking zeolite, the base zeolite molecule, and modifying it, which means that zeolite generally works to adsorb these things, and they tweak it so it works better. Does that make sense? Like, you can tweak it to make it work better. We are after more of the general, like, we don't need to add a whole bunch of surfactants or other crazy things to it that they do in a lot of these studies. We are looking for the basic thing to grab onto these things. This is a binder. This is an amazing binder of toxins in your GI tract. It does not go into your bloodstream. And I'm going to show a paper showing just that. Okay, so then let me hit to the next part on this. Okay, now, so I wanted to cover this because people freak out about this, and other people out there will say untrue things about this. So they're just desperate to grab onto anything they can, even if they make things up. So you saw that it's called an aluminosilicate. So we're not going to hide this. Is there aluminum in zeolite? Yes, it is all bound up into these cages. The cages are how zeolite works. Zeolite wouldn't do anything if these cages were broken. I need you to understand that. These cages go through your system unbroken and pass through on the other side. So pay attention to this quote here, and I'm going to get into this actual paper later. In vivo, this is in actual animals, experiments with TMAZ, a type of zeolite, and PMAZC proved stability, in particular to possible aluminum ions leakage into the body under the conditions of the gastrointestinal tract. They're saying that the zeolite stayed together unbroken through, so they're not absorbing any of the aluminum from it. These experiments confirm the safety, as no increased aluminum ions concentrations were detected, neither in serum nor in organs of animals after supplementation with PMAZC and TMAZ. And we're going to actually go into this paper here in a bit. I want you to pay attention here for anybody who would say that there's like aluminum toxicity risk with zeolite. That study that we're going to go into, they actually used it to treat, they gave these animals, I forget if it was mice or rats, they gave them aluminum toxicity, and then they gave them zeolite, and they got rid of the aluminum toxicity plus more, and they didn't have any increase in aluminum in their system. Okay. So anybody who wants to say that this is a problem is obviously not familiar with the research. This is true of many people in this area. So, oh yeah, we'll go a little more into what is zeolite. Oh, sorry, I just wanted to show you this. This was one thing I wanted to show, Joe. This is the structure of the cages. Okay, this is basic zeolite structure. This is what it looks like. It holds the toxic things inside of these cages. Okay, that's the gist. It attracts them, and it does what's called ion exchange, which we're going to go into. Okay. Oh, wait, did I open this one up already? Oops, didn't want to do that. Let's go. I didn't do the New World Encyclopedia one. I guess we'll do that now. Okay. Let me see if my highlighting's working. Yes, there it is. So this is the New World Encyclopedia. Let me make it a little bigger. Where does zeolite come from? Real quick. Natural zeolites form where volcanic rocks and ash layers react with alkaline groundwater. So this is actually like produced in a way by the effects of volcanic activity. Okay. Zeolites also crystallized in post-depositional environments over periods ranging from thousands to millions of years in shallow marine basins. Naturally occurring zeolites are usually found as mixtures with other minerals, metals, quartz, or other zeolites. Ours, as we'll get into, is 94% what's called clinoptilolite zeolite. Okay. That's about the highest you're going to get out there, bar none. Okay. So let's see. We already did that one. Oh yeah, this will be the paper. We'll do this paper. Novel, where is it? There it is. There we go. This is actually the paper. Let's see if my glass highlighting is going to work at all. There it is. Novel oxygenated clinoptilolite material efficiently removes aluminum from aluminum chloride intoxicated rats in vivo. So it actually removes more aluminum than what people... It doesn't put aluminum in, and it actually removes more. It's like when you go on a hike, right? You're supposed to leave the nature cleaner than you saw it. That's what it's doing. Let's see here. Did I highlight anything here? No, this is just the paper. If you want to go read it, let me see if I highlighted anything else in here. Oh, yeah. Well, why isn't it jumping to it? I guess I'll have to do... Man, this program. In this paper. There we go. In this paper, we therefore, one, systematically... analyze the physical chemical characteristics of 3 different clinoptilolite materials obtained by different production methods and 1 synthetic zeolite to provide novel evidence on structural differences caused by production methods. So the cages are slightly different. And 2 evaluated clinoptilolite materials detoxification properties in vitro. So that's like the petri dish, and in aluminum chloride intoxicated rats in vivo, in the whole rats. We analyzed a new clinoptilolite material as well that was prepared by tribomechanical double micronization and oxygenation. Our results clearly show that each tested clinoptilolite material differs in physical chemical properties and that these are linked to the production methods. So zeolites are different. Okay. Here's the most important part. Our results add knowledge on toxicology and safety properties of clinoptilolite materials, as no aluminum leakage was observed from clinoptilolite materials into the blood or organs of tested animals. Presented results therefore prove for the first time the efficiency of clinoptilolite in detoxification of aluminum in vivo, provides scientific data on clinoptilolite safety issues and usage for detoxification purposes. So basically, anyone who is saying that zeolite, at least a cleaned zeolite, we're going to go over that, anyone who is saying that zeolite is putting aluminum into your system is wrong. Simple as that. It actually detoxes aluminum out of your system. Okay? But people will probably keep trying to say that. Now, we're going to get into the cation exchange property of zeolite. Now, what does cation exchange property mean? So what it is... So, actually, let me see if this is going to work either. Are we going to have to do this every single one of these? Yeah, I guess so. Papers, cation exchange of natural zeolites, worldwide research. So Jeff Hoyt, who is a colleague of mine, he owns ZeoLyte Labs. He came up with this term called swap and drop. So what this means, let me get back into this. Let me go down to the next part. We've talked about this before with charcoal. Charcoal does a similar thing. Okay, so people are going to ask, well, I'll just address this now. What's the difference between charcoal and zeolite? I'm going to give you the basics right now. They both grab onto many of the same things. Okay? They both do this ion exchange adsorption thing. Okay, where they trade out less bad minerals or good minerals for bad minerals. They will keep switching them out until they have the absolute worst one they come across. And by the time they leave, okay? The tendency, does this mean that this happens in every single person? No, it does not. The tendency is that activated charcoal is very, very good at grabbing onto bile, which is one of the reasons it can tend to make some people constipated quite easily. Okay? So charcoal has a real affinity for bile. It really loves to grab onto bile, and that's good, and it's one of the reasons it can really cause constipation in some people. Now, on that note, there's a very small percentage of people, when they take activated charcoal, it actually helps them poop. So that's why I'm saying a tendency. Does this mean everybody? No, nothing ever means everybody. With zeolites, most people find that it helps them poop. If you take the zeolite the first couple times, you may even have a little bit of, looser bowels. That's okay. It goes away. So anyway, zeolite tends to help pooping for most people. Some people might get a little constipated on it. Okay, not everybody reacts to everything the same way. That's why we say a tendency. If you don't understand the definition of tendency, you might not be ready for this work. So zeolite tends to help pooping. Charcoal tends to, in most people, slow it down. And then there can be people who have the opposite reaction. That's the basic. So can you mix the two? Yes. I actually think that's, then you get kind of the benefits of both. And then you can adjust it for your bowels so that your bowels work well. Okay. That's the difference. Do I use both of them? Yes. I actually I have gone through the ZeoLyte dosing protocol that we'll talk about. I've gone through that. I'm down to 1 scoop a day, and I do a tablespoon of charcoal with it. That's what I had at about an hour and a half ago. In my morning, I call it my detox sludge. Now some people are going to need a lot more zeolite than that at the start. I remember I've been doing this a long time, and I also went through the whole step down zeolite dosing. So that's not a starting dose for most people. Okay. Now we're on to the cation exchange. Cations are positively charged molecules. That doesn't mean good. Okay, positively charged molecules in chemistry, they're just positively charged. It's not that negatively charged ones are bad. It's just it's like poles of a magnet, okay? It's like there's a positive and there's a negative, okay? It doesn't mean one is better than the other. Okay. So I'm just going to read this and then I'll expand on it. These internal cations of zeolites can exchange with the cations in their environment and retain them in their internal network, causing the removal of, cations such as copper, lead, cadmium, ammonium, also known as ammonia, and certain radioactive cations. Okay. What this means is, so our ZeoLyte with a Y, it contains, when we talk about it being charged, it has magnesium, potassium, sodium, and calcium after they clean it, which is important. We'll talk about that. After it's been cleaned, then they charge it with these electrolytes, if you will, these macro minerals. Okay. Now, when that goes into your body, what this statement is saying, it's going, the swap and drop idea. It's going to go into your system. The charge, the way the charge works on zeolite, the calcium or magnesium or sodium or potassium is going to come out of the zeolite, and the zeolite's going to grab onto something worse. Like worse as in bad for you. That's how this works. That's what charcoal does too. Okay, but charcoal's usually not charged with anything when it comes in. Charcoal's just empty. But the charged zeolite with a Y is going to actually give you electrolytes as it goes through and grabs onto these toxic things. Okay? That is the swap and drop. Another example, another analogy I've done to this is like you go into, you're trying to find the best outfit for you. You go into a clothing store. You see the first outfit you come across. You're like, that's pretty cool. I like that. So you grab it. Then you keep walking through the store and you're only going to buy one outfit. So think of that cage. One cage can only hold one thing. So you're going through the store. You come across another outfit that you like that's better than the first one. Okay, so you put the first one back on the rack. You grab the second one. And you could keep going through the store finding better outfits that you like more and trading them out for the one that you had until you eventually leave the store with the best outfit for you. The opposite is true with zeolite. The zeolite's going through your system. It's grabbing the worst toxin by charge that it finds all along the way until it has finally left your body. And again, it stays in your gastrointestinal tract. Anyone who says it's escaping, going to have to wait for the research on that one. Haven't seen it. So let's keep going. Oh, yeah, we're going to go over this because somebody asked about needing more fluids on zeolite. Okay, folks, detox is a process that kind of requires fluids. Okay. So this is a website from Bear River Zeolite. It's the zeolite mine in Idaho. We visited there. It was pretty cool. So they have this picture here of the zeolite cages. Water is held in what they call the channel ways, and ammonia and other cations, the toxic metals, are held in the lattice. Okay, so it grabs onto different things in different parts. Okay, here's why it makes you more thirsty. Clinoptilolite lattices are negatively charged and loosely hold cations such as calcium, sodium, ammonium, and potassium. So the things that we charge it with are held loosely so that they can easily be given to your system. So it's almost like a mineral supplement. The lattice can hold up to 55% by weight in water. Well, when you buy the ZeoLyte, there's no water in it, or at least very little that it might have absorbed from the air. But when you put it in you, it can absorb up to 55% its weight in water. So if you take a 5-gram scoop, it could grab onto, what is that, about 2.5 grams more of water. I'm just doing a rough calculation here, okay? The ability of clinoptilolite to exchange one cation or positively charged molecule for another is known as cation exchange capacity, or CEC. Clinoptilolite can release beneficial elements while capturing and binding undesirable elements and compounds. So you got to understand how special this stuff is. We kind of already went over this stuff. So yeah, we're going to move on from that. And the last one on this part of the document. Here, let's hit the refresh and we'll share this tab. Oh, well, GLASP doesn't want to work with me today. No, it's not even clicking. Oh, man. Okay. Here we go. This is a big review paper. I didn't even say the name of it. Here, let me go say the name of it. Critical review on ZeoLyte clinoptilolite safety and medical applications in vivo. So like in actual living creatures. In agreement with the scientific evidence presented in the literature so far, it can be generally stated that clinoptilolite-based materials, including the so-called activated materials, may be regarded as safe for in vivo consumption. A variety of highly positive effects on animal and human health were documented thus far for clinoptilolite-based materials. We're going to go over quite a few of those. Due to clinoptilolite's remarkable ion exchange and adsorption properties and consequent detoxifying effects, it has proven useful in the elimination of a variety of contaminants from the body or in amelioration, that's making better, of the intestinal status. We have several studies on that. An indirect systemic detoxification effect attributed to clinoptilolite-based material supplementation in the diet of both animals and humans was documented in other organs as well, for example, liver. We're going to cover that. Okay. So now let's get into, let me see the next part. Okay, Joe, you can show this if you want. So we're going to go over how our ZeoLyte, as in with a Y, is made. As I mentioned before, it is mined. ZeoLyte is mined. It is. But that's not bad. Like, we get lots of things out of mining. So you start with the highest grade clinoptilolite ZeoLyte, 94% in the world. 94% is as high as I've seen. And you guys can imagine I did quite a bit of research on this. It is then cleaned to remove any impurities. This is mostly a water-based process. It is. They may do some other things to it, but it's mostly a water-based process. Kind of like if you watch the Jacobsen salt. I don't know if you know this, but go watch Jacobsen salt on their website, the salt we like. What they do is they have like 3 giant vats of water that they wash the sea salt in, and it takes out pretty much everything. The way they do it, it takes out pretty much everything except the sodium chloride. So it is sea salt, but it's just sodium chloride when it's left. So why do we want to clean it to remove any impurities? Because the zeolite is out there in nature, right? So if it comes across a lead or a cadmium or a mercury, it's going to grab it. It's going to have it inside the cage, right? Well, that means that cage for us is not useful. It's already taken up. It would be like, if all the cells in the prison were taken up, well, where are you going to put the criminals? Sound familiar today? We have this spot that's full. We don't want it to be full. We want it to be empty so it can grab onto as much stuff as possible. So we clean it, right? Then This is an important thing when we're talking about raw or natural or even just people messing around with zeolites to try to make clear liquid zeolites. Don't. That's all I have to say about that. Don't. So can zeolite be broken down? Yes. Does that happen in your gut? No. However, could some of the cages be broken in like raw zeolite that's mined? Yes. We don't want that. That's not good. Does zeolite still detox more aluminum than it would ever bring in? Yes. And Kelsey has tested our zeolite with a Y and shown that it has no free aluminum in it. She tested it for free aluminum. There's none in it. That's why you clean it, is to get rid of anything that's already in it and to make sure that any of the broken cages are removed. Simple. Smart. Then it is remineralized, or what we call charged, where the zeolite cages are saturated with electrolytes, as in magnesium, potassium, sodium, and calcium. So that the zeolite then has good minerals inside of it in those cages to exchange for the bad ones it encounters. So it can actually give you magnesium, potassium, sodium, and calcium. Isn't that nice? Right? You get to detox while you get to get minerals. It is then micronized. It's not nano. We don't want nano. I don't use nano. There are some nano zeolite studies here. Kelsey's not so sure on the research on it, and I don't mess with nano stuff. But this increases the micronizing, increases the surface area for better detoxing capabilities. Just like more surface area, it can grab onto more stuff. Goes through third-party testing, and then it's packaged, okay? So that's that. Now, I want to go over a little thing about, Joe, you can just go on me now. Okay. So when you get this, first of all, I want to make sure that people know how to use it. I mean, it's very simple. You're going to take it out and you're going to mix it in something liquid and drink it. Okay. It mixes very well and it's not bad. It doesn't taste like much of anything. Somebody previously said it's kind of milky even. But we definitely aren't doing milk. So I want to go over one thing because some people are saying they're not getting as many scoops out of this. This is supposed to have, this is 150 grams. The scoop says the scoop serving is 5 grams. So there's supposed to be 30 servings in it. Okay. Now, this is a fine powder. It's going to settle and get mashed down just from traveling across the country in the jar because it's not made in my hometown. Okay. But the settling could still happen even if you drive it around town in your car. So it settles. So if you want to do your best to get, if you use the scoop in it without fluffing it up, you're not going to get 30 scoops out of it because you're taking a scoop of very densely packed powder. Does that make sense? The more densely packed it is, the fewer scoops you're going to get out of it. So if you want to get the maximum number of scoops out of it, and first of all, no scoop anywhere is going to be like the same every time. Okay. If you want an exact measurement of 5 grams, you're going to have to weigh it. Okay. If you want an exact measurement, you're going to have to weigh it. That's just the way it is. So if you want to fluff it up, here's my suggestion for fluffing it up. So you take out the scoop, you're going to seal it up real good. Okay. You guys, charcoal is messy, right? This is a very fine powder. It can poof a little bit. It's not like zeolite. I mean, it's not like charcoal at all in that way, but just shake it up. Okay. Just take it out, shake it up a bunch. You're just fluffing it up so that then you can get, closer to the right amount in your scoop and you're not feeling like you're getting gypped because it's settled and you grabbed onto a very dense scoop of it. Okay. And I would just, tap it off the top so you can do it. And then that'll work a lot better. Okay. Because at the start, you might be using a lot of this if you decide to follow the instructions as we suggest. So that's the fluffing it up. And let's go to the next part. Okay, I'm going to go over the dosing paradox here. This is a very, very, very important concept. Let me find, Joe, let me go to that. Let me open that one up. Okay. So I want to give credit to Jeff Hoyt because he came up with this concept of the high dosing theory of zeolite and the zeolite dosing paradox. So I have the link to his YouTube video and to his this is a huge article, right? I mean, this is This is huge. Okay. I'm going to simplify it for you guys, but you want to listen here. You want to pay attention. Okay. So Joe, you could go back to me now. The zeolite dosing paradox is an idea that it's very simply this. If you watch Jeff's video on it, he goes through like 5 or 10 reasons why this might be occurring, reasons for it happening, reasons for this being necessary. I'm going to simplify it for you. The idea is amazing. The concept is amazing, and it truly happens, those of you who see it. So the idea is zeolite, as it grabs onto stuff in your gut, your body, oftentimes, you guys know this, you start doing detox stuff and your body starts jumping on board and detoxing more stuff, right? You start taking stuff out and your body goes, oh yeah, let's do this right now. Let's start dumping stuff because you're taking it out, right? It'd be like, I don't know, your family saw you taking the trash out and all of a sudden they start giving you all their trash and you're like, I can't handle all this trash, right? So that's the same idea. So you get all this stuff coming out. If you don't have enough, so the idea is that this would, at some point you could overpower this with the zeolite. And we see this happen. So just so you know, this is what people experience. If you take too little zeolite, the zeolite grabs onto what it can. Your body got excited, starts dumping too much stuff, and then you can feel worse. So if you take too little zeolite, you can feel worse. If you take enough zeolite for you, the sicker you are, the more you're probably going to need. Well, the more you're definitely going to need. And just because you think you're not very sick doesn't mean that the zeolite's going to agree with you. Okay. When I started, I decided to test this. Oh, the other way that I believe this to be true and how I'm not just trying to tell people to buy a ton of zeolite is that the dose needed to not have the reaction, the negative reaction, goes down over time. When I learned about that, when I learned that this is not just like, oh, just like the high dosing approach to zeolite from Jeff, when I learned that it wasn't just like take high doses forever, that it actually goes down over time. So when it makes sense that when you're the most toxic in the beginning of when you take the zeolite, you need the most. And as you get less toxic, you need less. And that's exactly what happened to me. That's exactly what happens to other people who do it regularly. Okay. So that's why I believe in it. And that's why I don't think it's some sort of scam to get people out of their, get money out of their pocketbooks, because it does actually work. And people do feel better when they get enough zeolite for them in that dose. Okay. So I tested this. I tested this theory. I started with 1 scoop. No, let me just tell you, you can read Jeff's dosing protocol. I think I have it on our zeolite dosing page as well. I'm going to give you the simplified version. 6 scoops a day for the first week, 5 scoops the next week, 4 scoops the week after that, 3, 2, 1. That's the simplified version of it. So you start high and then you go down. Well, for me to test the dosing paradox, I chose to start at 1 scoop a day, right? I'll see if that works for me. If it doesn't, I'll figure it out. So I started on that. And at the time, it took me a couple days to put it together, but I was like, why am I just tossing and turning in bed? I'm not sleeping well. I'm just tossing and turning. So I thought, okay, after a couple days, I realized maybe that's my symptom of not taking enough. So I took some more. Still had the tossing and turning. So I took 3, still had the tossing and turning. Then I got to 4, and all of a sudden the tossing and turning stopped. And I went, oh, there it is. So now I said that the typical dosing is 4, it starts at 6 scoops a day. That's their general, just, you have to make a starting point for people, folks. 6 is not what everybody needs. I've been doing detox a long time, right? I needed 4. And I stuck with that for a while. And now I went down over time, and now I'm at 1. 1 is my daily dose. So we will see, hold on one sec. Ramon, we'll get to that. Ramon says, I haven't been here in a while because of work. I love the hair. How did you do it? Well, we'll cover that. I was kind of saying this on Twitter. I needed to do this episode, and I needed to do there's an important Substack article that I'm going to put out that needs to be finished. It's close to being done, but that also needs to be done. So once I have those done, then Ramon, I'm going to announce the hair regrowth program, and that will be the how I did it. Otherwise, I just finally let my hair grow out because my hair regrowth approaches had been working well enough. And it's pretty cool. Like I'll give you a quick story about the barber. I went to one barber because I hadn't been to barbers in like 30 years because I did my hair cut at home. So I go to this one guy, and he was kind of negative, and he's like, I was telling him about doing my hair regrowth and how I was so excited to grow it out. And he was kind of like, well, I think he thought I was doing like the normal drugs and stuff like that. And he was like, well, I've seen guys do this before, and they always just end up quitting. And I was kind of like, okay, dude, I'm not going to sit in your chair again. I didn't tell him that, but I was just like, okay, don't need the negativity because this is happening right now. Then the new guy that I'm going to, he actually said the other day, he's like, oh, a couple more months. Cause I said that because he can tell that I'm continually improving, like week by week. Cause I go to see him every week or two. And that was kind of cool. That was a good positive thing to hear. And then Kelsey says that the hairs are actually thickening. That was the hair strand itself. Now it looks a little funny because I actually learned that when you have new hair regrowth, it tends to come back in, especially as, let's say, somebody has gotten on in years, like I'm 49 turning 50 very soon, that there may not be enough melanin in the new hair growth to make it the same color as the rest of it. And I just went, oh, okay, cool. That explains it. They said it may or it may not come back. So I may have like extra blonde hair up here forever. Oh well, I can deal with it. Kelsey likes it, so we're all good. So anyway, that's a little bit of the hair update. Like I said, I'm working on the program is almost ready. Actually, I'll go ask a buddy of mine who's in it for his feedback on it if I need to do anything else with it, and we'll get it out there. I want to get it out there. Okay, so that's the dosing paradox. Basically, if you take ZeoLyte and you feel bad after you take ZeoLyte, you didn't take enough. I know that sounds so weird coming from me. This is the exception. This is the exception. I wouldn't, but I'm the one who's sitting here having to say it when I'm the guy who says if you take it and you don't feel good, take less. That's the normal approach, and that is the approach. The ZeoLyte dosing paradox. When I saw Jeff Hoyt and this stuff coming from my background and what I teach people, I was kind of like, where is this coming from? How am I going to sell this to people? And now, I mean, Jeff and I have talked on the phone multiple times. We actually text. He's a great guy. And I believed that he was honest, and he, explained it really well in the video. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. I don't know if you guys remember, but I did the same thing with MSM, which ruined me. MSM ruined me back in the past. So I did what the guy said, this old guy with horrible emphysema telling me like, oh, MSM helps you detox. And if you're getting detox symptoms from MSM, you just take more. Well, I did that and it ruined me for months. So when I came across this, you can imagine, I was like, oh, wait, oh no, I've done this before. I've been here before. But he posted some testimonials and some anecdotes. There's a story, I think, of a woman or two in that high dosing article. And I went, okay, I've got nothing to lose. You guys know I test all this stuff out before I would bring it to you. And it all proved correct. So let's get to the next part. Okay, ZeoLyte with a Y and the other cleaned ZeoLytes on the market. The two other ZeoLytes that I know that I'm sure are cleaned on the market. One is ZeoCharge, that's Jeff Hoyt's product, and the other one is G-Pure, G-Pur. Those are the cleaned ZeoLytes on the market. Okay. If you're going to, so ZeoLyte is not cheap. G-Pure is the most expensive out there. Okay. G-Pure is the most expensive one out there by far. ZeoLyte's not cheap to begin with. And let's say you're looking at it and you look at the ZeoLyte dosing protocol and you're like 6 scoops a day. That means I go through one of these in 5 days and it costs whatever. I can't afford that. Okay. I totally get it. Here's what I'm going to tell you. If you're going to take ZeoLyte, like here's what you don't want to do. Let's say you know that you need 6 scoops to not feel bad. Let's say you know you need 10 scoops to not feel bad. We've had this before. Yes. We have definitely had this before. There may have even been some people who took more than that to not feel bad. Okay. And if you say, I can't afford that, like I can't. Here's what I don't want you to do. Let's just say you need 6 a day. We're just picking 6 a day. And you go, well, I can't take that much a day. I can buy 1 jar a month. That's what I can afford on my budget. Right? Don't say, well, I'm going to spread it out evenly on the month and take 1 scoop a day and make myself feel like crap every day. Don't do that. It would be better if whenever you were going to take the ZeoLyte in a month, let's say you want to take it 6 days in a row. So you take it, or 5 days in a row, 6 scoops a day for 5 days in a row. Great. And then you stop and you don't take it in the rest of the month until you decide you have the budget to get more. Or you do it 1 day a week. There is no residual thing from ZeoLyte. Like, you do not have to take it on a daily basis. Every time you take it, it's going to suck the stuff out of you. So you do not have to take it daily. Every time you take it, it will do its job, and there's no like residual negative effects. Now, if you take too little, as all of us know, when you have something kind of whack you health-wise, it can whack you for a couple days. And that's actually in Jeff's anecdote from the woman who was sick. I forget what she had. Was it Lyme's or lupus or something like that? And she took 400 milligrams or something, and she felt bad. And Jeff told her to take like 10 grams or something. And the woman didn't want to do this because she's like, I didn't feel good on a low amount. I don't want to take that much. And then she followed his advice and she took more, and she felt better than she had in a very long time. So that's what we're talking about. Don't just take too little. Don't take too little to budget it out time-wise. Take the right dose when you need to take it, or when you decide to take it. It doesn't have to be every day. Do I take it every day? Yeah, I'm down to 1 scoop a day. But I was at 4 scoops a day at one point, going through it pretty fast. Yes. And then I was able to work my way down over time. So that's the gist of it. You don't, as Kelsey was saying, you don't have to taper like with flesh niacin. Like, you can just stop ZeoLyte at any point. There's no like residuals. Okay. So, she was also adding, you can start and stop just fine. Same with MSG. You can pause anytime. Yes. Yeah. Okay. People are saying my eyes look extra blue today. I guess, I don't know. I've been just working on that good old health stuff, you know? So let's get into, so that if you have questions on the dosing paradox and the dosing schedule and all that stuff, maybe I'll get to those at the end if I don't take too long on this. Okay. So next we're going to go into the medical uses of it. Elmer, that's a big question. We're gonna have to get to that some other time. Maybe later today, or maybe in a future episode. You could be missing something. Well, Elmer, if you're in the LYL, first of all, I don't have a protocol. You mentioned protocol. I don't have a protocol. And second, if you're in the LYL, I would post your stuff and I'll see if I can get to that question. So now we're going to get into, let's see, Joe, I got to pull up this, I got to make this visible. Let's see. I got to go do a different share. Hold on. Hold, please. Screen. Entire screen. Yes. Share. Hold on, Joe. Let me get it up. Okay, Joe, this is what I want to share the screen that has the PDF on it. Have we got that? Joe, can you tell me, because I can't see it without changing my screen? Okay, great. Thank you. So this paper, clinical evidence supporting the use of an activated clinoptilolite suspension as an agent to increase urinary excretion of toxic heavy metals. So remember, I just told you that zeolite stays in your gut, right? It stays in your gut. But I also just told you that when your body starts detoxing stuff, it often will like dump more stuff. It gets excited. It's like, wow, we're getting rid of stuff. Let's get rid of as much stuff as possible. How else would we increase urinary excretion of toxic heavy metals if it wasn't the body doing it? See what I'm saying? Zeolite stays in your gut, but it triggers your body to dump more toxins, which is why you must take enough. It all makes sense when we put it together. So let's go through this. This study was designed to evaluate the ability. Oh, wait, I need to hold on. Let me move over there. There we go. To evaluate the ability of activated clinoptilolite suspended in water, as in they called it ACS, activated clinoptilolite suspended or suspension, to remove heavy metals from the body through urinary excretion without the undesirable removal of physiologically important electrolytes, because people worry about it. Is it going to deplete your good minerals? The protocol utilized 2 treatment groups, each consisting of 11 healthy men aged 36 to 70 years. Volunteers were given a commercially available version of the study substance for 7 days and 30 days. And urine samples were collected at specific time points in the study. Regarding those electrolytes, no clinically significant alterations in serum electrolyte levels were seen at either 7 or 30 days on ACS. In conclusion, this study demonstrates that the daily use of an activated clinoptilolite suspension represents a potentially safe and effective way to remove toxic heavy metals from the body through increased urinary excretion without removing clinically detrimental amounts of vital electrolytes. So, let me go down and find, there was the other parts that I wanted to go over. They were at the end. There we are. Analysis of the serum electrolyte panels collected prior to and after the study revealed no significant changes from creatinine, glucose, potassium, magnesium, calcium, sodium, or chloride baseline levels following use of the activated clinoptilolite suspension for 7 days. The 30-day and the control groups also remained unchanged. Here's what we want. Significant increases in the urinary excretion of aluminum, antimony, arsenic, bismuth, cadmium, lead, mercury, nickel, and tin were observed in the subjects participating in the 2 study groups as compared to placebo controls. They were peeing out more toxic metals even though they took zeolite, which stayed in their gut. Since spectroscopic analysis showed no detectable contamination of the activated clinoptilolite suspension with the metals being evaluated, it is reasonable to assume that this observation was attributable to increased excretion of stored toxins and certainly led to the reduction in the overall toxic metal body burden of the participants. What they're saying, remember how I told you natural zeolite can have toxic things in it from being out in nature because it grabs onto stuff? That's what it does. These researchers are saying they analyzed the zeolite before they gave it to people to see if there was any toxic metals in it. They didn't find any. So it's not that what they're saying is that it wasn't the zeolite bringing extra toxic metals into these people that they were then peeing out. These toxic metals were coming out of their system because they weren't put in. Okay. Elmer's asking, how do I join the Love Your Liver program? It is at members.nutritiondetective.com. Elmer, or if you go to the nutritiondetective.com website and you go to the membership link, it'll take you to that same place. That's how you do that. Okay. Finally, on this last print, however, for all participants of the study, consumption of an ACS supplement for either 7 or 30 days resulted in a measurable enhancement of urinary excretion of heavy metals in subjects that demonstrated a positive excretion phenotype by testing positive for those toxins in the pre-screening and urinalysis. So they were saying that these folks were already detoxing these things in their urinalysis. Some of you have done what they call a pre and a post test heavy metal urine test, where you pee, just do a normal pee and you see if there's toxic metals in it. And there almost always is at least some. And then you do take something like a chelator, like you used to take DMSA or EDTA, calcium EDTA, or zeolite, which doesn't go into the bloodstream. and then you see an increase in the urinary excretion of toxic metals. Okay, the kinetics, as in how it's moving back and forth, the kinetics of excretion observed in this study, which revealed a several-fold, as in 2 or 3 or more times, increased peak in urinary excretion of toxic metals at 4 days for both groups taking ACS, implies that the supplement may serve initially to help clear free exchangeable heavy metal cations from the body, while the continued excretion of these toxic species, albeit at reduced levels out to 14 days, and in some cases out to 21 and even 30 days, suggests that use of an ACS supplement for a longer time may result in removal of sequestered toxins from various tissues. So they're saying at first it's like cleaning out, I don't know, an example would be like your blood. First it cleans out your blood, and then over time, these other toxic metals that the body wants to detox, and it can detox, it pushes them out, and then those come out later. So first it gets rid of the stuff in the fluids, and then it gets rid of the stuff that's stuck in the tissues. Continuing, Joe wants the link to this. I'll get the link. The human physiological system has many mechanisms in place for excreting these contaminants through sweating, incorporation into hair and nails. So that if you guys don't know that, the hair analysis is a method the body uses to detox. Defecation, often pooping, and urination. However, the ability to excrete and eliminate these environmental toxins is highly variable by individual. Yes. Phenotype, as well as the nature of the contaminant. As such, these toxins are also metabolized and processed. Let's pay attention to this. So they can't always get rid of it fast enough. As such, these toxins are also metabolized and processed to render them less toxic through processes including sequestration in adipose, brain, and muscle tissue. Your body stores or accumulates toxins to make them less toxic so they're not floating around in your blood, damaging everything they touch. People seem to think that the body storing or accumulating toxins is an accident. It's not an accident. It's desperation. This buildup often occurs very slowly and can eventually result in clinically significant levels of heavy metals that result in disease. Why do you guys think I talk about cleaning your rice? Why are we're talking about, like, you know, the prison diet or whatever, where people are eating, let's say, too much red meat? For them, over time, they could accumulate iron slowly. People might be eating rice that they don't wash, or that it's really toxic and arsenic. They could be accumulating arsenic slowly. People could be drinking tap water straight from the tap, full of lead and arsenic and uranium and pharmaceuticals and forever chemicals, and they slowly accumulate those over time. It's not that the body wants to do it, it's that it has to do it because it's protective. It's more protective than leaving it floating around. Okay? Oh, I'm just going to say this too. Dylan Black said he recently changed his work schedule to improve his sleep, and it's a night and day difference. Don't sleep on sleep. Folks, pay attention to your sleep. This is one of the earliest things I believe in the order of adding stuff. So Joe, let me see if I can find a link for this real quick. Copy the text. Okay, so I'm done with this one, Joe. We're going to go back into here. I'll do a quick search, see what I can find. Oh, ResearchGate is such a pain in the butt. Okay. Joe, I'm getting you the link. I just shared it. There's that. I'll post it in the chat. There's that. Okay. So let's get into the next part. Yeah, the next. Oh, sorry, Joe. We're going back into the PDF thing. So let me see. I got to go share my screen. I got to remember what I'm doing. There's that. Okay. Joe, can you see this Bear River PDF? Okay. This is just a PDF from Bear River ZeoLyte. They mine zeolite in Idaho. This article, though, for those of you who want to go and look at health applications of zeolite. I'm going to go over a bunch of them, but I just wanted to show you this document. Joe, I'll get the link for this too, but these are all referenced. So clinoptilolite in cancer therapy, clinoptilolite on blood cholesterol. It lowers LDL, which is the bad one. And why do we make LDL? It binds the toxins. So if something lowers LDL, that's a detox thing. It's detoxing you. Okay. Gastroprotective agent. We're going to go over that. So protecting your guts, as in like leaky gut and GERD. Osteoporosis. There's a 5-year study on osteoporosis in zeolite. I'd say this is crazy when they do this as a controlled release drug carrier. Okay, so imagine this. They put the drug into the zeolite. They bind the drug to the zeolite. They give the zeolite, and the zeolite comes across more toxic things in your body than the drug. So let's say it comes across a mercury, and the drug is technically less toxic, less positively charged than the mercury. So it actually takes the mercury and gives you the drug. Wound dressing. They compared it against quick clot. Those of you who are into guns, you know what quick clot is. So it helps you to not bleed out. Antiviral. Well, we know viruses are toxicity. So that makes sense that clinoptilolite would help with toxicity. Detoxicant, oxidative stress. So when you see in the research that it talks about zeolite as an antioxidant, I don't believe it's an antioxidant. What it does that's really important is your body's antioxidant machinery works better. Your body has a balance, a redox balance, a reduction in oxidation, or like antioxidants versus oxidants. Your body has a balance of this. Our goal is not to eat tons of plant antioxidants and supplement antioxidants because we assume we need it. Our goal is to get our body to do this for us. We want our body to be doing its antioxidant stuff and its oxidative stuff as much as it can by itself. Taking the toxins out helps the body to do this and giving it the minerals that it needs too. Histamine removal. How many of you are here because you have histamine issues? Zeolite grabs onto histamine like crazy. Glucose lowering, so it helps with diabetics. Oxygen generation. And then here's all those references. So if you really want to go search, they got all the references right here. So we're going to get into other ones. Oh, Wardy was saying, Wardy's a histamine issue person. And yeah, Wardy's loved the zeolite, definitely. So anyway, that's that. I'm going to go back to, let's see. Let's go into here. Is this it? Yes. Okay. Wait. Joe, we're going to do this one. Oh, ZeoLyte said ZeoLyte is life-changing. It really is. Just make sure you get enough. Just don't underdose it, okay? Even if, okay, I'm serious here. I'm going to give an extreme example. Let's say somebody found that they had to take the entire jar at once to not have symptoms. That's a really, really super toxic person. They probably feel like hot garbage all the time. But let's say they had to do a whole one and they say, I can only afford to do one a month. Then you just do it one a month, do it all at once, do it the right amount, and then just take a break from it and do it again when you can. Okay? So let's get into zeolite in the health of various things. Zeolite amendment reduces lead accumulation and improves growth and yield in tomato plants irrigated with sewage water. Now, we don't love tomatoes. This is just an example. They seem to do a lot of zeolite studies on tomatoes. So anyway, but it reduced the lead accumulation and improved the growth and yield when they were grown in sewage water. Although sewage water is a source of nutrients, it also causes heavy metal accumulation in soil, especially lead contamination of soil is a serious concern in agriculture. Soil contaminants limit the bioavailability of nutrients to plants. We're going to hit on that again. So they affect plant growth and produce quality. Wait, so toxins limit the bioavailability of nutrients. Wait, what do we work on here? Toxicities and deficiencies. Toxicities and deficiencies. What are they saying here? Toxicities get in the way of nutrient function. So in effect, they could create a deficiency. You need nutrients to process toxins. So it all fits together. Okay. What happened? The results showed that the application of 0.75% zeolite increased leaf area, bigger leaves, plant height, fruit number, and plant fresh and dry biomasses by 37%, 17%, 14%, 24%, and 7% compared to freshwater irrigation. They grew them with sewage, and giving them zeolite made all these things better. Moreover, the lowest zeolite dose also led to higher chlorophyll content compared to sewage water irrigated plants. So, oh wait, I'm sorry. Sorry, that was, well, okay, I'm confusing these a little bit. That's why I was going to skip this whole part because it's just a bit too hard to explain all at once. This is an important part. On the contrary, a reduced level of hydrogen peroxide and malondialdehyde. You're going to see reduced malondialdehyde many, many times. For those of you who don't know, the whole seed oil, where everybody's freaking out about seed oils. You want to know what polyunsaturated fatty acids, like in seed oils, turn into in your body that nobody talks about? Malondialdehyde and 4-hydroxynonenaldehyde, 4-HNE. You're going to see that zeolite reduces malondialdehyde everywhere in the body, basically. So, a reduced level of hydrogen peroxide and malondialdehyde and decreased activity of antioxidant enzymes were observed in low-dose zeolite applied plants. Well, remember, tomatoes are a high antioxidant plant. They make that to protect themselves. Okay? Zeolite reduced lead accumulation in tomato plants as compared to sewage water irrigated plants, whereby lead accumulation in the fruits of sewage water irrigated plants was 80% more than those of the zeolite plus sewage water treated plants. So, the plants in just sewage had 80% more lead in them than the sewage plants that got zeolite. Okay? So, moving on. I just want to show one study on plants. Everything about the plants was better with the zeolite, even when they were grown in sewage. Okay, some of you are going to like this. Oh, Victor says, big up Dr. Garrett Smith, vitamin A detox is life-changing. Well, thank you, Victor. We are here to continue helping people. So this study, effects of dietary zeolite supplementation as an antibiotic alternative on growth performance, intestinal integrity, that's leaky gut, and cecal antibiotic resistance genes, cecal antibiotic resistant genes, abundances of broilers. I don't know if that S is supposed to be there. Anyway, broilers are, if you don't know, broilers are chickens that are raised for meat. So like you want chicken breasts, you want chicken thighs, you want drumsticks, that's broilers. Okay, so they're talking about chickens that are raised for meat. Pay attention here. This study investigated the effects of dietary zeolite supplementation as an antibiotic alternative on growth performance, intestinal integrity, and cecal antibiotic resistance genes, abundances of broilers. An antibiotic alternative. How does it compare to antibiotics, even though it's not trying to go in there and ruin your liver and crush your... Oh, just wait until you see how zeolite improves the gut biome. So wait, they're going to give zeolite instead of antibiotics, and zeolite, I'm going to show you research that it improves the gut biome and fixes leaky gut. Wow, that's a big difference. Why aren't they using it all the time? Okay, it reduced malondialdehyde levels. And for those of you who are into the LPS, the endotoxin, it reduced plasma lipopolysaccharide content, the LPS. These findings suggested that the beneficial effects of zeolite in broilers were more pronounced than that of antibiotics. Those of you out there who are raising chickens, you may want to pay attention. Zeolite outperformed antibiotics in health for these chickens. Okay, let's keep going. Treatment of osteoporosis with a modified zeolite. So we're into osteoporosis now. With a modified zeolite shows beneficial effects in an osteoporotic rat model and a human clinical trial. Where's my... Oh, is that all I did? I guess that's all I highlighted. So they did... So I wish I would have highlighted this. They did two studies. They did one in animals and they did one in humans. Okay. Let me get down to the discussion. I want to find that how long. Okay. So they did this study. It was a year long. Let me see if I can find that. Study enrolled 100 osteoporotic patients, 6 male and 94 females, Croatians. Included a subgroup of 20 patients with type 2 diabetes. Let me see. I think that I want to see the time. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. All subjects received boxes containing either PMA, ZeoLyte, clinoptilolite, or placebo to be taken for a period of 12 months. So this was a year-long study. Year-long. Let's get to the results. So ZeoLyte taken for a year. All markers of bone integrity assessed showed statistically significant differences between sham-operated control animals. Well, they did an animal study too. And those that were ovaryectomized. So they take out the ovaries to really accelerate the osteoporosis, confirming the validity of this rat osteoporotic model. The compromised bone quality of ovaryectomized rats serves as a surrogate for osteopenia, which is a risk factor for bone fractures. They were treated daily. Both of them were treated daily with one of the ZeoLyte materials or with distilled water for 16 weeks. So this was a 4-month animal study. Okay. Let's see. Let's go find it. Let me just highlight this so I have it in my GLASP. Come on. I have to look up all of these abbreviations. Geez. Anyway, okay, I'm going to tell you. Here, we're going to take this summary here. The PMA ZeoLyte clinoptilolite promotes increased bone formation and reduced bone resorption after ovaryectomy. That was a 4-month animal study. Then we get into the year-long osteoporotic patients for the year-long on them. Let's go find their results. I can't believe I didn't highlight this. As you guys see in the doc, I had a lot of references. So let's see. Well, they did a questionnaire. Based on this subjective assessment, there appears to have been a perceived but not statistically significant improvement in overall health. Well, the people felt better. The people felt better. Both groups reported a reduction in pain level over the course of the study, which may have been placebo effect. Okay. Where is the end? Come on. This study supports PMA ZeoLyte clinoptilolite as a safe and effective intervention for osteopenia. Administration of PMA ZeoLyte clinoptilolite to osteoporotic rats over a 16-week period yielded statistically significant improvements in markers of bone density and bone architecture, as well as in multiple morphometric characteristics. The likelihood of aluminum release following long-term treatment appears not to be consequential, since our previous study showed that in animals treated with PMA ZeoLyte clinoptilolite, there is no such release. So stop saying there is. In addition, data from a clinical trial confirmed the safety of PMA ZeoLyte clinoptilolite with respect to aluminum release. Let's go see the... Oh, this was an on... I guess this was the on year. This was still going on when they published this. I don't know why. They published the rat study before they had the other one end. Well, we have a 5-year study, so we're going to go to the 5-year. I think actually they extended this one to 5 years. That's what they did. Yeah. So what they did was there was a year study. They took it to a year, and then they took it to 5 years. So if anybody wanted to say that ZeoLyte depletes calcium, after a 5-year study, I guess you're going to have to kind of not say that. The rationale of the presented study was accordingly to expand our preclinical animal study. See, that's the one we were talking about, on human patients with osteoporosis based on positive effects on bones observed in animals with osteopenia treated with PMA ZeoLyte. We specifically monitored effects of PMA zeolite on the bone quality parameters, fracture risk, and quality of life in a cohort of initially recruited 100 osteoporosis patients during a follow-up period of 5 years within a, got the magic words here, randomized, placebo-controlled, and double-blinded clinical study, TOP study. Obtained results provide evidence on the PMA zeolite positive effects on the bone strength of osteoporotic patients, as the risk of fractures was significantly decreased in PMA zeolite treated patients with respect to the time before entering the study. Statistical evidence point also to positive bone changes in the 5 years top study course, as evidenced through osteocalcin and beta cross-lapse values showing a prevalence of the bone formation process. 5 years. You know what I love doing is I love showing long-term human studies. When people look at cell studies and then try to make claims, and I go and I get long-term human studies that basically show they're completely wrong. That's fun. I enjoy that. Now, we're going to go into vitamin A here. There's not a lot of studies on vitamin A and zeolite, and I wouldn't expect zeolite to grab onto vitamin A. However, we do have one study here on the effects of dietary zeolite and vitamin A on the tibial dyschondroplasia in chickens. So I want to go find that for you guys, just so everybody has, what is tibial? I want you to see the dyschondroplasia. Okay, metabolic skeletal disorder affecting young, rapidly growing poultry, particularly broiler chickens bred for fast growth rates. So their legs are weak, basically. Characterized by the failure of the growth plate cartilage in the tibia to properly mature and ossify, turn into bone, resulting in a mass of non-vascularized, so no blood vessels, non-mineralized, no minerals, and unresorbed cartilage that accumulates in the metaphyseal region of the tibiotarsus. So basically, they're not forming bone correctly. Okay, it's like cartilage. And it doesn't have good blood flow. It's just basically their legs or their tibia is garbage. Okay, so now let's get back into that. Here we are. So what do we expect vitamin A to do to bone? Vitamin A just destroys bone. It eats it alive. Okay? So what does zeolite do for it? 4 experiments were conducted to determine the effects of dietary zeolites on tibial dyschondroplasia in chicks. How do they give them tibial dyschondroplasia? They give them vitamin A. Vitamin A was added to the diet in the first experiment at levels of 0 or 45,000 units per kilogram, in addition to full or half required levels of vitamin premix, and in the second experiment at levels of 0, 11,250, 22,500, and 45,000 IUs per kilogram, in addition to the full requirement levels of vitamin premix. So I'm guessing the vitamin premix had vitamin A in it too. This was done in order to determine if vitamin levels affected expression of tibial dyschondroplasia, and if so, if this expression could be influenced by 1% dietary zeolite. Zeolite at graded levels of 0, 0.25, 0.50, and 1.0% in experiment 3, and at the 1.0% level in all of their experiments, consistently caused a higher bone ash. There was bone ash. Higher bone ash means there's more minerals in the bone. So zeolite is actually keeping more minerals in the bone, which is what tibial dyschondroplasia is. It's not mineralizing, right? And a lower incidence and number of birds exhibiting severe tibial dyschondroplasia. The addition of zeolite to the diet generally had no effect on body weight or gain to feed ratio, but reduced tibial dyschondroplasia scores in 2 of the 4 experiments. Zeolite protects your bones against vitamin A toxicity. Kelsey's out there trying to make me laugh with her Napoleon Dynamite quote of, "Did the chickens have large talons?" We haven't shared the picture yet, but Kelsey and I we got pictures of us as what's the word? We took pictures at the ZeoLyte mine, and we actually went to Napoleon Dynamite's, the house of Napoleon Dynamite. If you can believe this, we went to the ZeoLyte mine in Idaho, and Napoleon Dynamite's house in the movie was like, well, it was like 5 or 10 miles away from it. And that's like, Napoleon Dynamite's one of my favorite movies. So that was really kind of synchronicity kind of thing. So let's get into the next one. So zeolite helps your bones. 5-year human study. You just saw the chicken study protecting against vitamin A toxicity. How about them apples? Effects of zeolite supplementation on parameters of intestinal barrier integrity, as in leaky gut, inflammation, redox biology, and performance in aerobically trained subjects. So these are like cardio geeks, okay? They get leaky gut. Okay, folks, excessive endurance exercise, like ultra marathoners, cyclists who are on their bike for like hours and hours at a time. This is not good for you. I'm sorry, excessive aerobic activity, particularly if you're doing it on the roads with cars and breathing in exhaust, is not good for you. It is very regular that endurance athletes die early. I'm not saying not to do anything endurance. I'm saying don't make that your entire life. Like lift weights. Come on. In the gut, these silicates, they're talking about zeolites here. Aluminosilicates. In the gut, these silicates could act as adsorbents, ion exchangers, catalysts, detergents, or anti-diarrheic agents. Wow, so it helps prevent diarrhea too. Like I said, you may get a little loose at the start, but it helps prevent diarrhea or treat diarrhea. And you'll see that in the irritable bowel with constipation or with diarrhea or with both study that we'll get to. Okay, so what do we have here? What happened to the leaky gut? At baseline, both groups showed slightly increased stool zonulin concentrations above normal. So this means this is like a leaky gut indicator being increased. After 12 weeks with zeolite, zonulin was significantly decreased in the supplemented group, as in less leaky gut. IL-10 increased tendentially in the zeolite group. Okay, IL-10 is considered an anti-inflammatory cytokine. So anti-inflammatory cytokine went up in the zeolite group, and the marker of leaky gut went down. 12 weeks of zeolite supplementation exerted beneficial effects on intestinal wall integrity, as indicated via decreased concentrations of the tight junction modulator zonulin. This was accompanied by mild anti-inflammatory effects in this cohort of aerobically trained subjects. Let's keep going. Oh, now we're getting into the biome. Effects of clinoptilolite and modified clinoptilolite on the growth performance, intestinal microflora, biome, and gut parameters of broiler chickens. So they like to give zeolite to broiler chickens, obviously. So the NCLI is natural clinoptilolite. That's like the raw stuff. And then they had modified clinoptilolite MCLI. Supplementation with either one was associated with greater villus height in the jejunal and ileal mucosa compared with those areas in the controls from day 1 to 42. What happens in celiac, folks? The villi get destroyed. So a healthier gut has taller villi, and as the gut gets destroyed, the villi shrink, where they get broken down. Wait, so zeolite increase the height of the villi. That's meaning your gut is getting healthier. Total viable counts of E. coli were significantly decreased by both zeolites from day 1 to 21. The NCLI, both zeolites significantly increased the total viable counts of Lactobacillus acidophilus. Small intestine and cecal pH values in the MCLI zeolite group were found to be lower than those in other groups. Total volatile fatty acid concentrations were significantly decreased in both experimental groups from day 22 to 42. So it's reducing the volatile fatty acids in the zeolite groups. This study showed that NCLI, both zeolites, as feed additives for broilers, had a positive effect on gut parameters by acting on microbial populations of the digestive tract. Okay. More gut biome. Modulation of the bifidobacterial communities of the dog microbiota by zeolite. Okay, folks, you need to know what will starve your bifidobacteria. No carbs. No fiber. Very little carbs, very little fiber. That will starve your bifido. This is known in the research. When we are born, that is when we have the highest concentration of bifidobacteria in our bodies, especially our guts, that we will ever have. It tends to go down as you get older. Do we tend to feel better? Let me go over 3 things that happen as people age, normal people aging. Their serum vitamin A goes up, their serum retinol goes up, their serum copper goes up, and the bifidobacteria in their gut goes down. So if we don't like aging, What should we probably try to do the opposite of? We should try to do the opposite of those. Improve your bifido and decrease your serum retinol and your serum copper. And yes, I have research on all this. Okay, so what happened in dogs when they gave them ZeoLyte? Fecal microbiota cataloging based on 16S rRNA microbial profiling analysis highlighted an increase of lactobacillus and bifidobacterium in animals treated with clinoptilolite ZeoLyte, with a simultaneous decrease of pathogens associated with dog gastrointestinal infections such as Klebsiella and Enterobacter. A detailed profiling of the bifidobacterial population of dogs receiving ZeoLyte based on the ITS-based sequencing approach revealed an enhancement bifidobacterial of species typical of animals such as Bifidobacterium animalis and Bifidobacterium pseudolongum. Moreover, these analyses identified the occurrence of putative new bifidobacterial taxa in both treated and untreated samples. So they may be finding some new bifidobacteria in there. Whoop-de-doo. Anyway, more good bacteria, less bad bacteria. Let's see. Oh, GERD, while we're here. Okay. So GERD, if you haven't seen my whole episode on gastroesophageal reflux disease, you might want to watch it. What does ZeoLyte do for GERD? Potentiated clinoptilolite, artificially enhanced aluminosilicate. They're just basically saying an artificially enhanced ZeoLyte reduces symptoms associated with endoscopically negative gastroesophageal reflux disease and nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory drug-induced gastritis. Endoscopically negative GERD. So my interpretation of that is they're saying these people have symptoms of GERD, but they don't show it up when they look for it. That's got to suck. Isn't that when doctors are like, man, it must all be in your head? I mean, I know you say you're burping up acid and you feel terrible and you got heartburn and you can't sleep because you can't lay down. Oh, but we did an endoscope down there and you don't have anything, so it must just all be in your head. Isn't that what they do? Aren't they so helpful? The cation exchanger, a potentiated clinoptilolite as an absorbatox, is a synthetically enhanced aluminosilicate. So it is ZeoLyte, and they enhanced it because they're trying to get it to... Okay, think about this, folks. ZeoLyte is sold raw as like cat litter. It's part of cat litter to help absorb the stink, the ammonia. So your cat litter, it absorbs ammonia and it absorbs other toxins in there. Like it's ZeoLyte by itself, like the raw stuff is super cheap. Super cheap. So what do all these companies want to do? Well, they want to make it just like in pharma. They want to change it, make it special so they can sell it and say, ours does this the best. So that's why you see all these different ZeoLytes. We want a basic ZeoLyte that is cleaned and charged that does the job of... So remember, all of these ZeoLytes are based on the basic ZeoLyte, the basic clinoptilolite. That's what they're all based on. And they just tweak them to get other effects out of them. It doesn't mean it's like pharma. It means that these companies, capitalism, they want to sell you what they can sell you. And they can't just sell you raw ZeoLyte. Okay. In the GERD study, wow, that's a fun name study, patients who received the potentiated clinoptilolite reported a significant reduction in the severity of symptoms, including reduction in heartburn, 44%, discomfort, 54%, and pain, 56%. Symptom-free days improved by 41% compared to the group who received placebo, as in not significant. This was over and above the benefits seen with the proton pump inhibitor. This was over and above the benefits seen with the proton pump inhibitor, like Pepsid AC. Okay, so now we have ZeoLyte performing better than antibiotics in chickens, and now we have ZeoLyte performing better than proton pump inhibitor drugs. In the NSAID study, the reduction in gastric symptom severity was echoed in the group who received the potentiated clinoptilolite. So they're saying this was echoed as in it's like similar to these. Treatment with the potentiated clinoptilolite resulted in significant prevention of mucosal erosion severity as graded by the gastroenterologist. So they're not degrading their esophagus. Absorbitox is ZeoLyte. It's a non-absorbable aluminosilicate with potential gastroprotective effects as it protected against NGORD symptoms and NSAID, as in like, aspirin and other painkillers induced gastric events. Works better than a drug, protects against drugs. Wow. Okay, so now they gave mice colitis by using a toxin. Okay, so ZeoLyte in toxin-induced mouse inflammation of the bowel. Efficacy and safety of a microparticle preparation. Let me find it. There we are. Wait, what was GHC2? Let me find it. We generated 2 preparations of purified clinoptilolite, which differed about 10-fold in particle size. So one is bigger and one is smaller. A standard powder and a microparticulate fraction with a size of 3.6 micrometers and 0.39 micrometers, respectively. Note, micro, not nano. So treatment of mice with the finer powder was superior to GHC1. That's expected and as effective as the reference compound 5-aminosalicylic acid in making better, ameliorating the damage induced by exposure to the toxin. Pay attention here for people who think these things are penetrating the gut. In addition, no clinoptilolite particle was observed in the intestinal epithelial layer, gut-associated lymph follicles, or in the liver. So we've shown multiple times that the aluminum doesn't come out of the ZeoLyte, and we've shown that the ZeoLyte is not absorbed even into the skin cells in your gut. And it's not going to your lymph, which is where it would go next, right? And it's not getting to the liver. So if you're believing anybody who says ZeoLyte is breaking down your system and putting aluminum in your system or it's going into your bloodstream, it's not. Oh, I don't think I got to this paper. Here we are. PMA ZeoLyte clinoptilolite in the management of irritable bowel syndrome, a non-interventional study. Well, I didn't get to highlight this one, but investigating the tolerability and efficacy of this ZeoLyte under everyday conditions in patients with diarrheic IBS, IBS-D, or constipated type IBS-C, or mixed type IBS-M. So they're looking at all of the irritable bowel syndromes. What happened? A total of 82.2% of the recruited patients had filled in the questionnaires before and after the 8-week treatment with ZeoLyte. 7 of the 8 subscales of the SF36, this is like a quality of life questionnaire, improved significantly. The reduction in abdominal pain was especially significant. The diary entries confirmed the reduction in abdominal pain and revealed a significant reduction in days with bloating. The Bristol stool scale analysis showed improvements, particularly patients with IBS diarrhea benefited from the treatment. So you saw how good that was? That was for constipation, diarrhea, and mixed irritable bowel syndrome. They just combined it all together. Under everyday conditions, life conditions, PMA ZeoLyte alleviated the global IBS-related symptoms and raised the quality of life. Isn't that nice? Okay. The effects of, now we got blood sugar, the effects of natural clinoptilolite and nano-sized clinoptilolite supplementation on glucose levels and oxidative stress in rats with type 1 diabetes. So they very, very nicely gave these rats type 1 diabetes, and now they're seeing if they can affect their blood sugar. Now, again, we don't sell nano. I don't recommend nano, but there's only so many studies on ZeoLyte that we have to look at. Okay. In diabetic rats treated with nano-sized clinoptilolite, blood glucose decreased to near normal levels. They're saying it was high before, and ZeoLyte decreased it almost to normal. Okay. Dietary ZeoLyte supplementation reduces oxidative damage and plaque generation in the brain of an Alzheimer's disease mouse model. Well, doesn't that make sense? Because we know Alzheimer's is toxicity. So they use toxicity to give mice an Alzheimer's-like disease, and zeolite reduced the damage. Wow, crazy. Let's go read this. The study showed that 24 hours of cell pretreatment with, let me get the MZ. We got micronized zeolite, tribomechanically micronized zeolite. Protected the cells by radical oxygen species, induced cell death, and moreover induced a reduction of the mitochondrial reactive oxygen species production following a pro-oxidant stimulation. Looking for an antioxidant effect of the zeolite in vivo in actual animals, we found an increased activity of the endogenous. This is made within the body. This is good. Antioxidant enzyme superoxide dismutase in the hippocampus of I think these are the genetically modified Alzheimer's mice, of TG mice, and a reduction in amyloid levels and plaque load in the zeolite treated TG mice compared to control TG mice. Our results suggest zeolite is a novel potential adjuvant or something to help or boost in counteracting oxidative stress and plaque accumulation in the field of neurodegenerative diseases. Where doesn't zeolite help things? I don't remember why I wanted this one, but the effect of zeolite clinoptilolite on serum chemistry and hematopoiesis in mice. Wow, this is kind of crazy. I didn't get to look at this one first. We're going to pass on this one. Now that we've done enough of that, now we're going to go into the toxins. Let's go into the toxins. I did open this one up, right? Yes. Okay, here we go. So now I'm going to run through a lot of these just with the title, especially when we get to the microplastics and the mycotoxins. I want you guys to pay attention to the number of papers that we go over on those. That's all I want you to pay attention to. If they are studying zeolite on these things, these toxins, it means it absorbs them, adsorbs them. Okay? Potassium and calcium modified NaX zeolites as possible bile acid sequestrant. Wow, we never talked about bile here, right? And you remember the GERD study where they gave them zeolite and they got such improvements? What do you think the zeolite was adsorbing? Think it was adsorbing bile? Gosh, think about the IBS with diarrhea and the IBS with constipation, and the IBS mixed people. Do you think they had toxic bile causing their irritable bowel? Yeah. Did zeolite help them? Yes. So does it make sense that zeolite binds to bile? Yes. This is just, it does. I have if you guys can see up here at the top, I have so many papers to go here. Okay, more on the toxic metal adsorption of zeolites. Adsorption of cadmium, nickel, and lead ions. Equilibrium, kinetic, and selectivity studies on modified clinoptilolites from the USA and this is from South Africa, RSA. It's not Russia. Overall, the adsorption capacity of the USA clinoptilolite was higher than the adsorption capacity of the South African clinoptilolite, revealing the potential of clinoptilolite in metal-polluted industrial effluent treatments. They're basically saying it works. The USA one grabbed onto more stuff than the South African stuff. Yeah, go USA, right? Let's keep going. Okay. Modified natural clinoptilolite detoxifies small mammals organism loaded with lead. And then this is one. Lead disposition and kinetic model for lead bioaccumulation. The detoxification capacity of the clinoptilolite sorbent KLS10MA, a modified natural Bulgarian zeolite applied as a food supplement in conditions of an ecotoxicological experiment with conventional food and lead, was demonstrated for the first time. So here's what I'm going to tell you. What this is saying is if they give lead in the food and they gave them zeolite at the same time, how much less lead got into the system. You guys remember, you may remember when I talk about activated charcoal, doing the charcoal sandwich, which is where if you're going to eat something you know you shouldn't eat, let's say, I don't know, you want to go eat some mercury and microplastics in sushi. Let's say you're making that choice. Okay. You could take charcoal before you start eating and then as soon as you're done eating. And then you have trapped the food between charcoal and the charcoal is going to grab onto a lot of that. I've told the story before. I used to get symptoms of like insomnia and heart palpitations after I'd go and eat sushi. And then finally I was doing a process of elimination, and I got to maybe it's the mercury, and I took some chelating agent before I ate sushi, and it got rid of the symptoms entirely. Then later I tried it with charcoal. I tried the charcoal sandwich, and that got rid of the mercury symptoms entirely. So we can use these things to reduce our absorption of them through the zeolite, adsorbing them in your gut with it. So here we go. The dietary inclusion of the sorbent, as in zeolite, reduced lead concentrations in exposed and supplemented mice by 84%, 89%, 91%, 77%, and 88% in the carcass, the liver, kidneys, bones, and feces, respectively. So you can minimize your exposure to these things. So if you knew you were going to eat something that was like toxic metal, if you take some zeolite with it, you're going to absorb a lot less. That's what this is saying. Okay. Yes. The protective effect of microporous natural clinoptilolite on lead-induced learning and memory impairment in rats. They're giving these rats lead. Digestive exposure, so they're feeding them lead with 0.2% lead acetate in the presence of zeolite additive had no effect on the rat's memory performance. Adding 5 and 12.5 weight by weight of natural zeolite to the rat's feed improved short-term, medium-term, and long-term memory performance compared to the control group. Their memory got better. Observed improvement in memory function can be considered in part as the indirect effects of cation exchange, that's switching out bad or less bad things for more bad things, or adsorption property of zeolites. Lead with zeolite, no effect on their memory. Zeolite to the rat's feed improved their short-term, medium-term, and long-term memory performance compared to the control group. The kinetics of fluoride sorption by zeolite. So if they're saying this, they know it absorbs fluoride. Effects of cadmium, barium, and manganese. They're seeing what cadmium or barium or manganese do to the ability of zeolite to absorb fluoride, because they already know that. Industrial wastewaters often consist of a complex chemical cocktail with treatment of target contaminants complicated by adverse chemical reactions. The impact of metal ions, cadmium, barium, and manganese on the kinetics of fluoride removal from solution by natural zeolite was investigated. And basically they just found, so that's what I wanted to get at, was they do these studies, they know that it soaks up fluoride. They know it. They already know it. Okay? Effects of dietary arginine, ornithine, and zeolite supplementation on uremic toxins in cats. Urea-related, ammonia-related. Okay, to test if arginine and ornithine, both components of the Krebs-Heinzelite cycle, or zeolite, a potential ammonium absorber, well, it is an ammonium absorber, can modulate the excretion of harmful bacterial metabolites. So bacteria are making toxic products. Intestinal microbial protein formation was stimulated by feeding a high-protein 60.3% diet as a single daily meal to 10 adult cats. Zeolite decreased renal ammonium excretion by binding to it in the gut, and fecal biogenic amines. These are bad. Don't want those. So, zeolite had beneficial effects on the intestinal nitrogen metabolism, which should be further evaluated in diseased cats. So it's helping the cats. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one. Removal of ammonia from aqueous solution. So if you see zeolite is absorbing stuff from water, it absorbs it in you too. I don't know if I did anything. The results indicate that there is a significant potential for the natural Turkish clinoptilolite as an adsorbent material for ammonium removal from aqueous solutions. They're just saying it works. Again, we're going to hit on this. Some of these we're just going to hit on them real quick. Using natural Chinese zeolite to remove ammonium from rainfall runoff following urea fertilization of a paddy rice field. Was there anything I needed on this? Nope, that was it. So ammonia. You don't want extra ammonia in your system. Sorption and desorption of ammonia by zeolite, of ammonium by zeolite. Batch and column studies, so I don't think I did anything in this one either. I'm just showing you over and over effects of clinoptilolite on the growth performance and antioxidant status in broilers. Okay, I think now we're getting into the malondialdehyde stuff. was 10 chicks in each group. Control group fed with the basal diet. Then you got the ZeoLyte group, 2%, modified 2% for 42 days, so 6 weeks. At 21 and 42 days, the activities of glutathione peroxidase, catalase, total superoxide dismutase, total antioxidant capacity were significantly increased in NCLI and MCLI groups than the control group. Remember, you making antioxidants is good. Your body has control of that. You eating dumb superfoods because they have lots of plant-based antioxidants is not good. The malondialdehyde content was significantly decreased in the ZeoLyte groups than the control group. Let's get more malondialdehyde. Does supplemental ZeoLyte affect growth, performance, meat, texture, oxidative stress, and production of polyunsaturated fatty acid of turkey poults? Let's find it. Oh, this is just the abbreviations. So SOD, GPX is glutathione peroxidase, catalase is CAT, and MDA is malondialdehyde. Malondialdehyde, a product of polyunsaturated fatty acid oxidation, used as the best existing measure of universal reactive oxygen species, is an aldehyde produced from lipid peroxidation, which is estimated based on its reaction with thiobarbituric acid. In the present study, the addition of 2% of ZeoLyte for experimental groups significantly decreased the MDA level for female liver, female meat, and male meat. Less malondialdehyde everywhere. Compare with the control group. In contrast, superoxide dismutase and glutathione peroxidase are increased for meat and liver, but the differences were not significant. Moreover, dietary ZeoLyte supplementation has an effect on catalase level, decreased from 0.341 for control group to 0.246 for experimental groups on 2% ZeoLyte only for male meat. The antioxidant capacity of turkey poult could be improved by supplemental ZeoLyte. Again, endogenous antioxidants are okay. Your body has to deal with both oxidation and reduction or antioxidant type stuff, okay? The results prove that supplementation of ZeoLyte at all treatment concentrations did not increase the activities of SOD and GPX, but decreased the MDA content in meat and liver under normal conditions. Okay. Okay, this one's fun. Effects of clinoptilolite treatment on oxidative stress after partial hepatectomy in rats. They cut out part of the rat's liver. Like, I'm not sure what this is supposed to prove other than they're just saying, you're here, rat, you get to have less liver. Yeah, they did a 70%. They cut out 70% of the liver for group H and HC. Plasma and liver, so blood and liver tissue MDA levels of group HC, which is the liver removal and ZeoLyte, were significantly lower than the liver remove only group. Liver tissue copper zinc superoxide dismutase activity and glutathione levels of group the liver with the ZeoLyte were significantly higher than the group that just had their part of their liver removed. Now we're into the histamine. Wardy, this is for you. Histamine binding capacities of different natural zeolites, a comparative study. I don't know how deep we're going to go into these. We're just going to show you that it binds histamine. And it's actually irreversible, pretty much. Natural Cuban zeolites for medical use and their histamine binding capacity. In particular, the San Andres zeolite binds remarkable amounts of histamine, which are nearly irreversible under acidic and neutral conditions, respectively. It grabs onto it and it doesn't let go. Neuroprotective effects of punicalagin, I don't even know what that is, and or micronized zeolite clinoptilolite on manganese-induced Parkinson's disease in a rat model. Involvement of multiple pathways. Folks, avoid the people who are pushing manganese. Avoid them. It accumulates in your brain. It causes Parkinson's and Parkinson's-like syndrome. Do not go with the people who push manganese. Anybody with the word mineral in their name, you should avoid them. Manganism, a central nervous system dysfunction correlated with neurological deficits such as Parkinsonism, is caused by the substantial collection of manganese chloride in the brain. ZeoLyte, clinoptilolite, and or the punicalagin reverse the depletion of monoamines in the brain and decreased acetylcholinesterase activity, which primarily adjusted the animal's behavior and motor coordination. Clinoptilolite and the punicalagin restored the balance between glutamate and GABA content. Okay. Monoamines is like, here, I'll give you guys a definition just so you can see it. An transmitter. So, examples: dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin. There you go.
We had some problem, Dr. Smith, and if you could maybe go back over the last minute.
Okay. Well, Joe just told me that we lost bandwidth for a second there. So I'll just go over this paper again. Okay. Gosh, I was kind of, let's hit on this one. The neuroprotective effects of punicalagin or micronized zeolite clinoptilolite, which is what we're working with, on manganese-induced Parkinson's disease in a rat model, involvement of multiple pathways. Okay. Again, do not follow anybody who pushes manganese. Do not. I just had somebody who on Twitter who said they followed the copper pushers, whether that's anything having to do with a protocol or a revolution. For 8 years, they took extra copper, and now they realize they're wrecked. 8 years later, copper and manganese accumulate in your brain. Do not push them. You can probably store a ton of it before you start seeing problems. I mean, isn't that why people go until they're 60 or 70 before they start showing dementia? You can accumulate a lot over time. You can accelerate it too. Okay, manganism. They have a disease name for manganese. Manganism, a central nervous system dysfunction correlated with neurological deficits such as Parkinsonism, is caused by the substantial deposition of manganese chloride in the brain. I've shown that multiple times before. Clinoptilolite, zeolite, and or the punicalagin reverse the depletion of monoamines in the brain. What are monoamines? Let's go do that real quick. Monoamines, neurotransmitters and neuromodulators that contain one amino group connected to an aromatic ring. Basically, examples are dopamine, norepinephrine, also epinephrine would be one, and serotonin. So when you're talking about neurotransmitters, you're talking about monoamines. Okay, so let's go back to that paper now. ZeoLyte reversed the depletion of monoamines in the brain that happened from the manganese and decreased acetylcholinesterase activity, which primarily adjusted the animal's behavior and motor coordination. So their behavior got better, their motor coordination got better. ZeoLyte restored the balance between glutamate and GABA in the brain. How does zeolite that you don't absorb affected the brain? Because when you reduce the toxicity in the system, everything works better. Now we're going to get into the microplastics. So I may not be hitting a lot of information in these in the actual abstracts and the papers, but you're going to see the abundance of papers. So the potential of zeolite nanocomposites in removing microplastics, ammonia, and trace metals, which would be toxic metals too, from wastewater, and their role in phytoremediation. I believe this is plants that are toxic or the soil that is growing toxic plants. Yeah, I don't think I have anything more on this one. Nope. So just pay attention. These are we're going through the microplastics right now. So one paper on microplastics. Removal of polystyrene microplastics from aqueous solution using the metal organic framework material of ZIF67. Guess what the Z stands for? I think you know. So 2 on microplastics. Removal of microplastics from wastewater with aluminosilicate filter, that's going to be ZeoLyte, media, and their surfactant modified products, performance mechanism, and utilization. Here it is. Cationic surfactant modified zeolite had a significant removal, 96% for PE and PA. Let's go see. Did they say what PE and PA were? I'm sure PE is polyethylene, I'm sure. Is it going to be here quickly? Let me go look at it real quick, just so I can say what they are. Polyethylene is PE. Polyamide is PA. Okay, got it. So, next one, exploring the potential of amino-functionalized zeolite series. Biochar. Biochar is basically charcoal for environmental microplastic removal. So they bound, is this, Kelsey, I don't know what this molecule is, and I'm not going to look it up right now. If you know what it is, say it. Zeolites, I don't know if they're combining all this stuff together. But anyway, oh, wait, charcoal. Biochar is basically charcoal. Zeolite. Wow, these things are used together? That's crazy. Let's add another one. The uptake potential of Santa Barbara amorphous silica / zeolite composite for environmental microplastics in wastewater. Let's just keep going. The role of natural and synthetic zeolites as feed additives on the prevention and or the treatment of certain farm animal diseases. A review. I'm sure I highlighted something in this one. Oh, now we're getting into mycotoxins. Mold toxins, if you didn't know. During the last decade, there, as in zeolites, utilization as mycotoxin binding adsorbents has been the topic of considerable interest, and many published research data indicate their potential efficacy against different types of mycotoxins, either as primary material or after specific modifications related to their surface properties. I know I didn't mark much on the mycotoxins ones, but we're gonna head through them. In-field evaluation of clinoptilolite feeding efficacy on the reduction of milk aflatoxin M1 concentration in dairy cattle. Giving cattle zeolite in their feed reduced the amount of aflatoxin in their milk. Pretty wild, right? I don't think I did anything. Oh, yeah. Clinoptilolite administration significantly reduced aflatoxin concentrations in milk in all farms tested at an average rate of 56.2%. Oh, aflatoxin. So, okay, so what I'm going over, guys, Joe just wanted me to make sure I defined aflatoxin. Aflatoxin, what I'm going to go over here is these are mold toxins, mycotoxins. So we're just going over a general showing you that these things go after mycotoxins. So the first one we went over was just a review. Then they were saying there's a bunch of studies on this, and I'm going to go over a bunch of studies. So I'm not going to detail on what each one of the mycotoxins are. But aflatoxin is one of the most common ones. Aflatoxin is what's in peanuts that makes them bad. So we got that. Effects of a modified clinoptilolite zeolite on growth, performance, health status, and detoxification of aflatoxin B1 and ochratoxin, that's another mold toxin, in male broiler chickens. Let's keep going. Effects of various types of aluminosilicates, as in like zeolites, and aflatoxin B1 on aflatoxin toxicity, chick performance, and mineral status. Efficacy of zeolitic ore compounds on the toxicity of aflatoxin to growing broiler chickens. Effect of clinoptilolite on performance of Japanese quail during experimental aflatoxicosis. So they gave them mold toxicity, and then they gave them zeolite to save them. Preventive efficacy of clinoptilolite in broilers during chronic aflatoxin 50 and 100 parts per billion exposure. They say it in the title, preventive efficacy. It's preventing problems. Efficacy of synthetic zeolite to reduce the toxicity of aflatoxin in broiler chicks. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Never take synthetic zeolite. I'm just going to give you this right. I should have said this at the start. Don't take liquid zeolite. There's hardly any zeolite in it, or it's actually not zeolite at all anymore. It's been broken down. Don't take clear zeolite. Don't take liquid zeolite. Don't take synthetic zeolite. Don't come back to me later and say, oh, I tried it, dog, and I'm all messed up now. Don't do it. Don't try to get cheap. Don't try to get extra smart and mess yourself up. No liquid zeolites, no clear liquid zeolites, no synthetic zeolites. Okay. Effect of dietary protein, alfalfa, and zeolite on excretory, as in excreting, detoxing patterns of 5577 zearalenone in rats. This is another mycotoxin. This is another mold toxin. Okay. Just giving you a variety here. We like to get rid of a diversity of toxins here. Synthesized magnetic nanozeolite is a mycotoxin binder to reduce the toxicity of aflatoxins, zearalenone, ochratoxin A, and deoxynivalenol in barley. So they're actually getting rid of the mycotoxins in grains with it. Okay. It grabs onto mold toxins. Oh, now we're into the radioactive elements. Okay. Relationship between zeolite structure and capture capability for radioactive cesium and strontium. Now, I know there's theories out there that radioactivity, I don't know if they're saying it doesn't exist or it's not harmful, or I don't even go down there. Y'all want to play with that area, that's fine. I don't think I had much else on this. Oh, that's all we needed. Right here. Zeolites are widely used for capturing radioactive cesium and strontium. Seems that zeolite is widely used for a whole bunch of things. And I wanted to go over this last one in a real world example. The Chernobyl incident. Let's hit on this one. The Chernobyl meltdown is probably the largest electric nuclear generating plant catastrophe. Reportedly, the Russians used 450,000 metric tons of clinoptilolite to eventually bury the reactor to a depth of more than 100 feet. What did they know about zeolite? Little is known about the levels of radiation prior to or after the remediation. More than 93% of the radiation was generated by isotopes of cesium and strontium. Quote, the addition of zeolites to soil reduced the supply of radionuclides to plants by a factor of 2 to 3 times for 137 cesium and by 50 to 70% for 90 strontium. The use of zeolite dietary additions to polluted fodder, 1 to 3, I'm assuming this means grams, zeolite per kilogram of body weight, reduced the concentration of radionuclides in meat by factors of 2 to 3. So they're putting zeolite in polluted animal feed so that the animals could eat it. Okay. Not everything's perfect, right? Sometimes you just got to deal with what you have. So they put zeolite into the animal feed and it reduced the radionuclides that were in the animal meat by factors of 2 to 3 and in milk by factors of 5 to 7. Remember, this stays in the gut. Natural clinoptilolite has been successful in removing radioactive nuclides from within the human body. This is the gentleman who did the study. The Russians countered the SR-90 in children by feeding each one of them a chocolate cookie per day containing zeolite. The zeolite removed the 90 strontium from ingestion by the children. They also remediated other food products, sewage, laundry waste, using zeolite detergents, animal feeds, and prepared zeolite drugs for humans. I wish I could find the reference on this one. I don't. I tried looking up this guy's name. I couldn't find it. So I would want the reference, but it makes sense to me seeing what I've seen. Okay. So it's 12:30. Let me get back, Joe. I think that's all the, that's all the references I had, y'all. So it would be best if you could keep, I'll take some questions. It would be best if you could keep your questions more on the zeolite subject rather than going out into random stuff. But yeah, again, if you want to get our zeolite with a Y, we've put up the link before. The link is in the info box down there. Like I said, I take it daily. Is it okay? So somebody asked, is it okay for pregnancy? I don't know if you guys realize this, but I'm on YouTube out in the public here, and I'm not going to just make bold statements that things are okay for pregnancy or not, because pregnancy for any doctor is a minefield. What I'm saying is that zeolite stays in your gut. It doesn't go into your system. So you can do with that information what you will. Somebody asked, can children take it? I would give it to my own children. Yes, absolutely. I would do a modified dose. How do I tend to dose things for children? I take their weight and I divide it by 150. So like, let's say you have a 50-pound child. This is, and if you choose to do this, this is on you. This is what I do for my own children. So the kid weighs 50 pounds. You divide 50 by 150, you get 1/3, right? You get 33%, 0.33. They would get 0.33 of an adult's dose. That's the typical starting point I do for my kids. Okay. What you choose to do with that information is up to you. I'm not giving medical advice here. So, Susan says Chernobyl area is thriving with wildlife. ZeoLyte worked. Actually, wait. So Susan, you were asking about you had a very early question about ZeoLyte kind of causing people to want to drink more, or like, somebody could say, oh, it's dehydrating. Okay. Well, if somebody has to drink more, then yeah, you could say that. That's the ability. Okay, folks, if you take any kind of binder, the way that binders work is they have to have water in them. They can't adsorb anything without a fluid to move. They have to move the toxins through a fluid, right? They don't have little arms to reach out and grab it. So there has to be a fluid for easy movement. So yes, as you saw earlier, ZeoLyte, clinoptilolite can absorb 55% of its weight in water. And once that water's in there, as it's going through your system, it's going to leave. So yeah, you might need to drink a little more water. And you were asking about potassium levels. Let me find that one. I had a link in here about, don't know why I didn't have. So you saw the other papers. So Susan is saying, I felt fabulous on 40 grams a day for 3 weeks. My dose to prevent headache. Now symptoms of low potassium with any ZeoLyte, no constipation or thirst. Okay. That's interesting. There is this one paper. So we saw the other papers where there was no effect on electrolytes. And then we have this paper, the effect of ZeoLyte, clinoptilolite on serum chemistry and hemat. Oh, this is what I was looking for. Okay. This is what I was looking for in this paper that didn't get highlighted. A 20% increase of the potassium level was detected in mice receiving the ZeoLyte-rich diet without other changes in serum chemistry. So the potassium actually went up in the blood of those mice. Can I say what that's from? No. But again, it would be, Susan, so you're saying any... So when you're saying toe cramps, potassium helps, suddenly you need a bunch, stable on 1400 milligram for years, then suddenly you need 2400 if you take ZeoLyte. I mean, well, the other thing is ZeoLyte pulls toxins out of your system. So if you start pulling stuff out, copper depletes potassium, vitamin A blocks potassium channels. It could be that. So needing 2400 milligrams is not like a crazy dose considering the RDA is 4700. So if that concerns you and you don't want to do it, that's fine. But, having an increase of 1,000 milligrams in potassium needs in a day while you're trying to detox more, I'm not terribly concerned about that. If you don't want to do it though, that's totally up to you. I respect that, and you can do what you feel like you want to do. You may also need less. Okay. Well, you were asking duration paradox. I don't think so. I mean, the long-term, there's the long-term studies like the osteoporosis one with it. I mean, you just may have gotten to some point where, something unique is happening in your system. And so again, this is the important thing about our approach. If you've decided that that's not working for you, then you don't have to do it. If you think it's something that could potentially be positive and you want to keep going with it, that's a decision only you can make. This is your journey. I'm more like a guide, and it's up to you how you feel about it and what you choose to do about it. And you said activated charcoal still fine. Mercury and lead have been my issues. Okay, so this is an important thing. Some of you may be like, I don't like activated charcoal very much. It's too constipating. I love ZeoLyte. And some of you may be like, I love activated charcoal, and ZeoLyte doesn't do it for me. Okay. Doc, it hurts when I do this. Well, then don't do this. Or one feels better than the other. Do the one that feels better. Everybody, think of it, we are similar but different. We all need, like, you know, food and water and air. And when you try different supplement approaches or binders or whatever, some of them may work better than others. Stick with the ones that work for you. This is why we don't use the word protocol. Nobody has to take ZeoLyte. Nobody has to take activated charcoal. Nobody has to eat beans, right? These are all our binders. You don't have to do them, but if you don't do any of them, you're probably not going to be grabbing onto much bile and pooping much out. So, okay. So Susan said mercury and lead have been her issues. Okay. I'm just trying to think. Susan, did you try taking more? Did you attempt to take more when you had that potassium thing, or did that make it worse? This is just a question. I'm just exploring what might have happened for you. And then Susan said, I'm okay with taking more potassium. And you said you felt like pulsing might be better. Yeah, pulsing would be fine. Absolutely. Yeah. If that's what works for you. There's also been, I'm just going to tell you guys this right now on the live stream. I've talked to people in my office hours about this, and I've talked to people who are not on the program, who are not. So I've talked to people of all walks. Folks, the last month and a half of Schumann resonance, space weather, whether it's HARP, NextRad, whatever has been going on has been intense. So if all of a sudden you've had a bunch of symptoms, old symptoms, new symptoms, I can tell you that even my son and my buddy who live here, I asked my buddy one day, who's a personal trainer, we used to be workout partners together. And I said, are you feeling like this weird, like tired soreness? And he said, yeah, I have. I said, is there anything you've ever felt before? And he said, no. And I was like, that's exactly what I have. And I've asked my 14-year-old boy if he's had it too. And he's not doing as much of the diet and all that stuff. And he said, yeah, Dad, it's weird. And I can see it in my kids' eyes when like the space weather or whatever it is coming up. So what I'm saying is, if you've been having weird stuff in the last like 6 weeks, especially in the last week or two, I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to make it go away. If one thing in things. So I'm just letting you know, just because things have been bad in the last week or two, and especially over the last 6 weeks, it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It means that there's stuff going on. We've had lots of people talking about waking up in the middle of the night, waking up hot, restless sleep. And this is not people who are just doing the program. This is all sorts of people. Had people on Twitter comment about it. I did a post about it and had all sorts of people who are not my followers commenting saying, yeah, this has been happening. And because I retweeted another guy who said, I don't know that guy, but he's like, has everybody's sleep been weird? Have a lot of people been having trouble with sleep lately? And I was like, I retweeted it and I made my comment, and then we got all sorts of comments on it. So this has been happening. Okay. Your boy asks a question. Hey, Dr. Smith, I was wondering what advice you would give somebody looking to get into this work as a practitioner to help people. Hair testing seminar seems like an obvious start. Thank you. Well, where to begin? See, it's a challenging thing for me to tell people who, like, I earned all of my skepticism and discarding a bunch of ideas in the trenches. Like, it was decades of me doing what I now look at as dumb things. But back then I was like, oh, I'm doing the best thing ever. Eating raw liver. I mean, give me a break. I used to do it. And taking vitamin A supplements. Ugh. All the stupid things. I did all the stupid things. So it's kind of hard because when people don't have that background to lean on, they easily get duped by like new fancy shiny things. Like, oh, I don't know, calcium supplements as an example. And then they go and they lose their minds over this new thing. And then what I've seen before is I help people get better. And then all of a sudden, at some point, they find one thing that they doubt, and then they go and they do their own thing, and they do the exact opposite of what I did, and they go and they mess themselves up really bad. I've seen it multiple times. So training a practitioner in this to be protected against that kind of thing is tough. Naturopathic medical school right now is probably $200,000. What do I use from that education now? I do the opposite of what most of my colleagues do. I don't do the same things that they do. So then it becomes, well, was that worth it for me to become a licensed physician? I don't know. Is it worth it for other people who are coming after me to do that? I don't know. The reality of it is, people like qualifications. So you're going to want to probably have some sort of qualification, more than just a health coach or something like that. So there's that. I would definitely, so it's kind of like learning the enemy stuff, like I got a minor in nutrition, and then I went to naturopathic school. So the minor in nutrition started teaching me, like, this is insane. Like, they were talking about tube feeding people and I was like, wow, this is nutrition, huh? This is like what dietetics is. And I was like, I don't want to do that. You're going to want to have some sort of qualifications. How far you go in that, whether it's like nutritionist. Some of the people who have misinterpreted my work the most have been nutritionists. So there is no protecting yourself from bad ideas out there. Qualifications don't protect you from bad ideas or bad thought processes. Okay. But yeah, I would figure out where you want to live, figure out the qualifications you need to do in that state. Like hair testing. Here's the thing about hair testing and blood testing. As far as I know, you can interpret tests. Anybody can do that. Interpreting them. It is when things are prescribed. It is when diagnoses are given and things are prescribed that things get into the hairy areas where you can get in trouble. That's the problem. So you want to make sure you're not doing that. We're going to be doing, I don't know when we're going to do the seminar. We're working on, new website and all sorts of cool new stuff right now. So we're probably working on filling up half of the supplements that we offer, trying to get them all, making sure we keep them all in stock and all ready for you guys. So I got a lot of stuff going on right now, but we're going to be doing another seminar or something where I'm teaching people how to interpret the studies, the labs that we do. So, and we're going to be offering more eventually, fairly soon, we're going to be offering more lab combos in our store. So if you want to order blood work for yourself, you want to get the basic labs we do, you want to get the vitamin A panel, you want to get, a calcium oriented panel, you can do that. So we'll have that stuff soon. Can't say when, but we will have it soon. So for most people to do this work, getting the testing is going to be the difficult part for them, because if you don't have enough of a qualification, you can't order it. And you don't want to be one of those people out there who's just telling people to do a bunch of things with no testing, because that will get you into trouble. Okay. Hope that helps. But yeah, the hair testing, we go over hair testing and blood testing in my seminar. The last one I did was, it was almost a year ago. It was November of 2024. It was 18 hours. So apparently my brain is working pretty well, because I did 18 hours of teaching in 2.5 days. I took a lunch break and a couple little breaks in there, but I talked for 18 hours straight over a 2.5 day period. So apparently my brain is still functioning pretty darn well. Let's hit a couple things. Oh, I didn't get to say goodbye to Kelsey, but thank you for coming, Kelsey. Hopefully you'll see this later. Susan said, for once I haven't been sensitive to space weather. The past 6 weeks has been my ZeoLyte experiment, and maybe it's working somehow. The toe cramps are crazy though. Can you break bones this way? I don't think you can. I don't know if you can break bones with toe cramps. I doubt that, because yeah, you'd be breaking the very thing that the muscles pull on. That would be maybe on PCP you can do that, but I doubt you're going to do it from a potassium cramp. I would make sure you're getting some potassium before bed. Some people have thought that excessive. So see, when you were taking our ZeoLyte, Susan, you were doing ours, or were you doing a different one? Oh, and your boy said that's great. Thank you. Appreciate the advice. That is all really helpful. Good. I try to make it helpful. So still waiting for your response. I'm sorry, Susan. Did I say something else? Susan, we're waiting for your response. There you are. Sadly, but no, it's clean and charged. Okay. So no, so that means it's got the minerals in it. I would just, maybe, oh, you're in Canada and the tariffs are screwing things up. Yeah. I'm sorry for those of you who are in Canada. It's got to be rough. I mean, it's rough everywhere right now, but Canada is probably extra sucky. No. Okay. So Hilda, let me get to Hilda's questions. She said, feeling the difference already from ZeoLyte with a Y, especially when I was having a major histamine attack, totally nipped it in the bud. She asks again, how are people dosing the ZeoLyte? Just spread it out 5 milligrams scoop at a time throughout the day. No, let us go over this again. And I'm saying I want to go over it again because I want people to get it. Hilda, I don't know how much you took. The key thing is the key thing is whenever you dose the ZeoLyte, you take enough for you that you do not stir up more stuff and make yourself feel bad. This is the key thing. I talked about the dosing paradox earlier in the episode. You might want to go back and watch that. There's also, you can read Jeff Hoyt's of zeolitelabs.com. You can read his higher dosing strategy and the ZeoLyte dosing protocol. He has a video on YouTube about it. Highly, highly recommended. The key thing is that. So if you took, like you were saying, a 5 milligram scoop at a time through the day, if that's not enough, you could make yourself feel worse. And we don't want that. The key thing, whenever you take the ZeoLyte, whenever you take ours or any other type, is if you feel bad at all, you need to take more. No, Hilda, you started with very little, like a quarter teaspoon a day. Okay, so some people can get away with that. Some people can get away with very little. Like I said, I was at 4 scoops a day and I went down to 1. But Hilda, if you get any negative symptoms from the ZeoLyte, that means when you take it, you need to take more, not less. This is different from everything we do. So some people, like, they'll take a big dose and then they want to take another dose later in the day. Well, I don't know if that second dose is going to stir up more stuff. If it's like they might take, let's just make up something, 6 scoops in the morning and 3 scoops in the afternoon. That could be too little on that second dose and you could feel worse. I just don't know. You have to see for yourself. But the biggest problem with the ZeoLyte will be people getting it. And like, folks, I had to put a dose on the label. I had to pick some. So 1 scoop a day is on the label. Does that mean that that's what's best for you? No, there's also a link to dosing it. I have a separate page on my website about how to dose it that goes over the dosing paradox stuff. Read the link, please, everybody. I did a link for lactoferrin. I did a link for ZeoLyte. I did a link for sun fiber. Like, I have to put something on the label. So 1 scoop went on the label. Is that the best dose for everybody to start with? No, absolutely not. But I can't just go and put 6 scoops a day on the label, because then people are going to take that forever. You see, I'm kind of stuck. That's why I made the website, was so people could get the information that they need to figure out what they need. Okay, so let's see. Oh, wow. So Intuitive IFS Therapy says they get leg and toe cramps from high copper foods. When I used to eat 2 tablespoons of almond butter a day with Dr. Wilson, I had terrible, vicious cramps. Yeah, copper's nasty, nasty stuff. Let me see this other question. So somebody asked, does it make drugs and supplements less effective, the ZeoLyte? Okay. Well, ZeoLyte binds to toxins. Most pharmaceuticals are toxins. am I concerned? Okay, so when we're talking about, let's say, minerals, am I worried about zeolite binding to the good minerals we use? No, because I mean, imagine we're all exposed to toxins every day. We all have stored toxins and we're all exposed to toxins every day. So based on that, when you take the zeolite, if you took it with, let's even say like a lot of your other supplements, you took it with your keystone minerals, your zinc and molybdenum and selenium, and you got potassium going and magnesium and sodium and whatever, and you got all that going. And then the zeolite comes with good minerals in it. Remember, the zeolite will drop off the good minerals that it's charged with, and then it will grab onto whatever is more positively charged, more toxic in that way. It will grab onto it and hold on to it until it comes across something even more toxic. So this is how zeolite works. So if the med you're taking is a toxin, the zeolite is likely going to grab onto some of it, just like charcoal would. Just for a lot of these questions, just think of it like activated charcoal. It's similar enough. So I don't separate charcoal from my supplements. I don't separate zeolite from my supplements because I know the stuff I'm taking is not stuff that the zeolite really loves. Now, other supplements, if you're taking supplements that we don't use, probably not great stuff, and the zeolite may absorb it. So the supplement thing would be, I couldn't generalize to supplements. I couldn't just say all supplements, it's going to make them less effective. I'm still, I take my keystone minerals and my lactoferrin with my detox sludge that has the charcoal and the zeolite in it. So, okay. Susan was asking, any connection between mercury and or lead and potassium? Well, I'll do that. Thank you for the super chat. I'm sorry, I forgot to say thank you for the super chat, you boy, and thank you for the super chat, Susan. Let's do a quick. Oops, wait, mercury. Oh, wait. Oh, wait, no. Sorry, wrong word in there. We want PubMed. Okay. So just because we're in the middle of a show here, I'm not gonna, this is the AI summary from Brave. We'll look at the studies if it has something good here, just because it's just a quick search. Okay, so we have here, mercury suppresses an outward potassium current in human beta lymphocytes. So mercury affects the potassium flow, this right here. And this is this paper. So we'll open up this one. Oops, wait. We'll open up that one. Chronic exposure to mercury also alters plasma electrolyte levels, with studies in rats and chickens showing increased plasma potassium levels following mercury exposure. Wait. Okay. So yeah, so we got those. I'll just let me see if the lead has something. Okay, so Susan, here we go. Lead exposure affects potassium channels in various ways. So we've got that. And this is the same reference. It says here, the effect was not replicated by magnesium or calcium, indicating a specific action of lead on the potassium channels. So yes, that's also another one. I won't open this paper. Lead poisoning also disrupts potassium homeostasis in the kidneys, leading to defective potassium excretion, hyperkalemia, and clinical acidosis, often associated with fixed moderate sodium wasting. So we have, from what you're seeing here, these are always short-term studies. So you got lead disrupting potassium homeostasis in the kidneys, that they're excreting less, but you got the mercury increased potassium levels. So it's just, potassium is what I call a stress mineral. So when there's stressors like toxic metals, you tend to see more of it come out. Actually, that's what on a hair test, when I see the potassium on a trace elements hair test, not an ARL one, But on trace elements hair test, when I see the potassium level go higher than the sodium, and especially if they both go high, I call that the stress of toxicity or the stress of detox. I actually have a term for that. So Susan says my searches are gifted. Well, thank you. That's I take great pride in my searchability. So the most beautiful buzzkill asked, all yeast bad? Question, also included nutritional yeast. We don't use any yeast. We don't use it. It increases the amount of vitamin A toxicity symptoms. How do I put this? I need to find a good way to put this. I went over this paper. I think it was last week or it was either last week or the week before. I think it was last week when I went over MSG. Yeast increases the vitamin A toxicity symptoms in animals at lower doses of vitamin A. So like if they gave an animal like a supplement of vitamin A and the animal got toxicity symptoms, and they gave another animal, they didn't give it as much vitamin A, but they gave it like yeast, it got the same vitamin A toxicity symptoms as the one that got a bunch of vitamin A. I went over that. That was a specific study. I think I went over that last time. So we don't use yeast because it makes vitamin A toxicity worse at any level. So that's that. Yeah, Susan was saying, sounds like cells lose potassium with exposure to mercury and lead. That's why the serum levels would go higher. Yes, and that's also why then we would see on a hair test over time, we would see the hair potassium go up. Not in a good way. Okay, let me see. Oh, Joe says my computer's running too hard. Let me get rid of that. And that. We'll see if that helps, Joe. I don't think we're going to wrap it up here pretty soon. Okay, so you're welcome. The most beautiful buzzkill. I thought I was the most beautiful buzzkill because I tell everybody all the things they can't eat. No, I'm kidding. Okay. Let's see. I'm just seeing if there's anything else. Wow, that's a lot of how many comments did we end up having? 323. Wow, you guys were active over in the chats. Yeah, just remember as I was kind of talking to a family member the other day, it's always more important to take out. Most people always want to add. So yes, we're talking about a supplement here, which is adding something. And it does take things away. But the key thing to remember is the fewer toxins you put in, the less you have to take out later. Okay, so always the key thing in restoring health is minimizing, reducing, avoiding the toxic things, because then your body doesn't have to use any energy on fighting them or pushing them out or detoxing them or the damage that they do. If we're adding something to suck it out, that's already there. I mean, that's our second thing, which is facilitating the removal of stored toxins. That's our second kind of pillar of regaining health. Then, just do it correctly. Please, if you're watching this towards the end of this, please go back and listen to the part about the dosing and the duration, the dosing paradox, and how to take the right dose. It's much more important that you take the right dose than spread it out. The right dose means you don't get symptoms. If you take too little for you, you might get symptoms. If you get that, that means you should take more. If you can't do that dose every day, then do it when you are able to or when you choose to. Don't break it up into smaller doses. Don't take a smaller dose every day that is not the right amount for you. Then you'll just feel bad. Don't do that. So the feeling bad is the stirring up of toxins. Your body gets excited to detox. It wants to kick out more stuff. So it does. And if you have enough zeolite in there to soak up the stirred up stuff, then you feel better. If you don't have enough in there to soak up the stirred up stuff, you could feel worse. So ZeoLyte doesn't fit any of our other principles in terms of, doc, it hurts when I do this. Well, then don't do that. Normally it would be like, you don't feel good on something, do less. ZeoLyte, if you're going to do it, do it right. And if you feel bad on ZeoLyte, it's you do more until you find the dose that you don't feel bad at. Okay. And that might be a lot for some of you. Some of you are, and I mean this in the best way, some of you are just really, really toxic. And you're going to need a lot. So if you don't want to do that, then don't. Like, it's just, don't half-ass it. whole acid. Okay. For those of you who are familiar with Parks and Rec, right? Don't half acid. Just make yourself feel worse. Whole ass this. Okay. So, oh, Susan's, yeah, you're welcome, Heather. Susan said she felt better than she had in years for 2 weeks on ZeoLyte. Okay. And then she added, thank you for solving the potassium mystery. I will pulse ZeoLyte and take more potassium. Getting rid of lead and mercury would be a massive blessing. Yes. We've had people who know their heavy metal or toxic metal toxic, and the ZeoLyte really shifts things around for them very quickly. So yeah. Also remember to get your good minerals, because you want to, just like in our body, kind of like in ZeoLyte, your body's going to have minerals in the slots. Oftentimes, like calcium and lead, you can have lead go into a calcium slot. You can have copper go into a zinc slot. Like they fit into the same slots in the cells. So if we're going to get rid of these bad things, we want to make sure we have good stuff coming in to fit into the empty slots. Okay? Just like if everybody left an apartment complex, you don't want the wrong people moving into that apartment complex. You want good people moving into that apartment complex. So that's why we want to make sure we get the good minerals. As we take out the bad ones, we want to get the good ones in there too, so that they fill in there. And then the bad mineral, even if it comes in, it can't get into that slot as easy. Okay. So, okay. That's the ZeoLyte episode. I hope John, I hope you're happy now. I know Kelsey is, that we got this done. And for those of you who are waiting for the hair regrowth program, this was one of the main things I wanted to get done before I got to that Substack article that I need to do. And then the hair regrowth program is the next priority. So that's that, Joe. Let's wrap it up. So Joe put up the link. Episodes 53 and 71 of the Love Your Liver live stream is the basics of toxic bile paradigm. We used to call it toxic bile theory. That's where you can get the basics of how all this stuff works. And you can learn about bile dumping. Like, it's sad that some people out in the big vitamin A world don't understand bile dumping and the basic principles of it. So anyway, there's that. Let's see. Then we have past live streams. If you want to see our past live streams, Joe put up the link. You can go to the live tab on our homepage here at YouTube, youtube.com/nutrition detective, or you can go, sometimes if you miss a video, if it looks like the live streams are missing a video, go to the videos tab and you can find them there, because sometimes I had to edit out bad words that the Gestapo didn't like. So sometimes they show up as videos instead of live streams. I had to take out the words before they caught me. We have a Rumble channel. We do have all of the episodes on the Rumble channel. There is one episode that is not on YouTube anymore because I got a strike on that one. So that's only on Rumble. I forget which one it is. nutritiondetective.com. That is our main website. That's where you can find the supplements. That's where you can find the regular shop. You can find the VIP store, which is for Love Your Liver people. You can find consultations with our health facilitators, where you get the hair and blood testing and a consult and 6 months of access to office hours. And then there's the Love Your Liver program under the membership tab. The membership tab is where you can go there. Now, if you want to go directly to the Love Your Liver program, which is a do-it-yourself program. It's a do-it-yourself program. It's also a forum. It's like my own little mini Facebook in there, except I actually keep people on a leash and don't let them do dumb things in there. So anyway, members.nutritiondetective.com. That is the direct link to the Love Your Liver program. If you sign up with one of our health facilitators, you get access to the Love Your Liver program for free. And the Love Your Liver program is a one-time fee. If you want to schedule a consultation, like I said, that link is on the main website. That is where you could work with Kelsey or Nathan doing consults and analyzing your hair and blood tests. And then if you do that with either of them, you have access to the office hours, which includes me. I do my own office hours. Kelsey does one. Nathan does one. We do one session each a week. So you have 3 opportunities to come in and get help for 6 months after your consult. Who else does that? Who else includes that much help in your process? Because, we're all navigating this whole toxic, deficient world, newly. We're having to adapt to all these things. So, and you've never done this before, a lot of you new people. So we're there to help. This is my free email course, madnessofmodernnutrition.com. So if you just go to that website, you can sign up on the email there, and you can get I think it's about 17 emails sent to you where it's kind of introducing you to some of the big things in our work that are like out there. So we're trying to show you what we're all about. So if you like it, great. If you don't like it, hey, you can go find other people. I'm Dr. Garrett Smith. I was expecting that episode to be like 4 hours, and we got it done in 3. So that's great. This is episode 215. We'll see you here next week. We've done this every week for over 4 years now, and it shows no sign of stopping anytime soon. So hope you all enjoyed that. Make sure to watch the stuff on the dosing the ZeoLyte, okay? Don't mess that up and then say you didn't feel good on the ZeoLyte, because I told you don't mess it up, okay? Read the stuff. You're welcome. All of you are welcome in the chat. Thank you for coming. Best of health to you. I will see you all next week. Oh, bye now.